All right, let me check it now. We can see Chase. We can't see anybody else on YouTube for some reason. That's all right. Again, all I care about is the audio, and yeah, it might just not be clean this time. I'll have to go back to my old computer that never gave me any issues. Um, might just be an issue with the new computer. But like I said, Chase, you're the only one that people can see here because your screen is at the top on my monitor.
I wonder if I turn it off and on, what it'll do.
To wait and see uh, what happens because it's a little delayed the stream. So let's see. Now it looks like Fred is going to be at top. Let's see. Yeah, I switched to Fred, but that's fine. That's all right. Uh, Let me share that with you guys, and then I'll post it to Twitter, and then yeah, we'll get going. Like I said, all I care about is the audio at the end of the day. All right. All right. Not as aesthetically pleasing as I was hoping, but that's all right. So to kick off, I do want to say that one of the people who can't make it is Wally, and he was running the Chicago Blackhawks at number two. And he sent me his list of picks already, so I can assure you that it is not going to be as cut and dry as the mock drafts that we see with like the typical guys going two, three, four, and stuff like that. So to kick things off for anyone watching or who will watch in the future, I made it clear that we are picking based on what we would do if we were GMs of the team on draft day. This is not consensus. We're not picking based on the vibe of the draft day. We're picking from our point of view based on all of our hard work and countless hours of watching film. These are the players we feel fit for those teams. So already, the first pick was the San Jose Sharks, and they are run by, I click back into the group here, Alex McLean. And Alex selected, unsurprisingly, to just about everybody, Macklin Celebrini. So Macklin Celebrini first overall to San Jose Shark. Again, pretty cut and dry. I don't think we need to add much in the way of commentary to that pick. Again, pretty cut and dry. And with the second pick, it is actually going to be Ivan Demidov to the Chicago Blackhawks instead of what a lot of people are expecting in a defenseman like Salayev or Levshinov, who's a popular pick for Chicago at number two. It is Ivan Demidov. So, does anybody want to take off with some Demidov discussion going number two to Chicago?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I think this is the right pick by Wally to take Demidov too. I think he is the second best player at the draft when you look at skill. And yeah, I think he just fits the Chicago Blackhawks in the way that it gives that one true elite superstar on the forward end with Bedard and Demidov. Chicago can wait. Chicago can wait a couple of years until he's ready to come over. And as we saw with Mitchkov, sometimes Russians come over faster than you expect.
Yeah, and Demidov, as many people have said already, is arguably the most talented prospect outside of Macklin Celebrini, and some may even say that his raw skill tops Celebrini. That's not something I see often, but that's something I hold in terms of stick handling and everything. Whether he can put it together is a whole nother story, but the skill is undeniably there. And I can't remember who it was, but there is a scout that I follow pretty closely who has been bashing the older people that say the Russian effect, where, oh, he's from Russia or lives in Russia or speaks Russian. Let's not take him where he rightfully deserves to go, that Russian factor. And I'm right there with him. There's no need for the Russian factor. If a kid is as skilled as he is, there's hardly been any issues, especially in recent years with prospects coming over, especially with news that Matvey Michkov might be coming over too to Philadelphia pretty shortly. So the whole idea of the Russian factor to me has always been kind of strange. But Ivan Demidov goes number 2 to Chicago, definitely against kind of what people have been thinking leading up to draft. Again, Artyom Levshin has been a guy that I've seen a lot of people mocking number 2 to Chicago. And with the number 3 pick, so I actually have been running, I will be running Anaheim. I'm running a couple teams here. I believe Joey runs a couple teams. We're going to make this or have discussions with teams who don't have like a GM running it. So I picked Anaheim, and with that pick, again, definitely against the consensus because I know a lot of people are thinking Levshinov's available. Why don't you take him? Why don't you take Salayev? Salayev's a popular pick at number 3 for Anaheim, but instead I'm going to go with Sam Dickinson. Um, Dickinson's my number 1 defenseman in the class. I think with all the other defenders like Parik, Levshinov, Buyum, although William is kind of in that same idea or mindset as Dickinson, being more well-rounded, I still think that Dickinson has a higher floor, just a better floor than Boom when it comes to his defensive game. I think he's the most well-rounded defenseman. I know still warts in his game, specifically aggressiveness that he plays with pinching in. I had a lot of instances where he would pinch in a bit too much and would let guys get in behind him. There's been moments of getting up odd man rushes in that sense, but I really do like Dickinson's game. He's very, very intelligent on the puck, off the puck. He's really, really good in the offensive zone with his shot. I think he's a super talented defenseman. Again, like I said, he's my number 1. So I have Dickinson going 3 to Anaheim. Again, definitely against the consensus. But again, he's my number 1 defenseman. I think Anaheim gets a good one, especially to replace, Jamie Drysdale, who they traded away for Cutter Gauthier, kind of get that potential number 1 defenseman filled back in on that prospect pool. I think he's a really, really good option for Anaheim at number 3. Does anybody want to add on while I update the sheet?
I was going to say personally, Ontario is my bread and butter. I live for it. I've been watching Dickinson since he's been 14, 15 years old. He's been a grown man and an adult since then, which is insane, and he hasn't really stopped growing. And honestly, the maturity on the kid is unreal. He's going to be, other than Celebrini, I've been saying for years, he's the safest player to be a pro. And that doesn't mean that he needs to be a number 1 D at the next level. I personally think he can be. I love his game, but if it's coming down to you're taking your top 5 pick for your organization, you do need to factor in that you want less risk. And other than Celebrini, he's the only player I'd say that's in this year's draft I would bet every dollar on my life that will be a pro player in the NHL for a long time. So
I second that. Actually, Dickinson, I think, is the most pro-ready defenseman in all this group of Bioman, Parek, and Salayev. I like his game in all 3 zones. I think he's really complete. He may not have the same offensive ceiling as the other guys, but I think he could play in the NHL like next year or maybe the year after. He's really pro-build.
Yeah, he has that maturity as well to his game, where it's just you feel like that's the player you could put into a lineup tomorrow, even if he didn't have any preparation, and he would do a good job. And that, I think, is a very unique skill.
Yep. So with that discussion of Sam Dickinson to number 3, we have Fred, who's with us right now on the stream, picking number 4 for Columbus. Who do you have on your sheet?
So I'm in between 2 players here. I thought one of them actually would have gone, and I thought you would have taken him, Kyle, because I know you liked him a lot. we have had our discussions about him a lot, and I think I'm going to go Consta Hellenius. In my opinion, one of the more intelligent players, I think, in the draft. I think he's a really, really good working, well-schooled player, and Columbus needs a lot. Columbus needs a lot of help, and I think they have a good prospect pool, but adding that to Fantilli offensively, I think would be a great addition. And I just, it's a player that I think is fun to watch. He just creates things and creates chances, creates offense, creates a good mentality to work around. So really, really big fan of him.
Yeah, like you said, we've had a lot of discussion. For those that don't know, I used to work at Last Word with Fred and Ben, who hopefully he said he might be able to make it later on for the second round picks for Montreal. But yeah, I worked with you pretty closely early on in the process of scouting, and you know very well Hellenius was one of my favorite prospects, and I definitely considered him at number 3 for Anaheim. But I look at the Ducks, and I think of the Jamie Drysdale trade, and I knew they needed a defenseman more than anything, in my personal opinion. So that's why I passed on Hellenius. I was hoping he'd fall a little bit further, but beggars can't be choosers. So Hellenius at 4 to Columbus. That leaves Zane Parekh. It leaves Artyom Levchinov. It leaves Anton Salayev still on the board. Some pretty big names available at number 5 Montreal. Now Ben sent me his list. He was hoping he'd be able to make it early on. He could not, which is okay. He sent me his list of picks. And his top option was Ivan Demidov for obvious reasons, because that's who a lot of scouts have going to Montreal at 5. They expect him to fall. But that's not the case. Wally came in and scooped him up, which means his second option was Consta Hellenius, which was just scooped up by Columbus. But he did give me 4 names, which means inevitably at least one of them was going to be available. And that pick is Berkeley Catton. So does anybody want to? Yeah, I see Joe. You want to add to that discussion for Berkeley Catton? I see you like that one.
Yeah, especially since I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. That would be my pick. Montreal, in fact. I know he lacks size, the convertible size that we would like from a guy like Hayden Lindstrom. But he's a lights out, smart, and skilled player. I think he's gonna be so dynamic, so helpful on that top 6. You're gonna build around a guy like that, and I think he complements Nick Suzuki as a 1A 1B center so well. He's really talented, and he's been a bit overlooked because of all the other guys, all the other talentful guys we have in the top 10. But I think he's one of the best forwards from this draft, and they're not gonna regret this pick for sure.
Yep. So just a quick recap for those of you who are just coming in now. The top 5 in order from San Jose was Macklin Celebrini. Chicago took Ivan Demidov at 2. Anaheim, Sam Dickinson at 3. For Columbus at 4, it was Consta Hellenius. And at 5, it was Montreal taking Berkeley Catton. So number 6, that brings us to Utah. I left it as Arizona, and I got very confused when I couldn't find them on the list. Sorry, and Arizona fans, for reminding you that happened. But Utah is run by Chase, I believe, right? Yes. So go ahead, tell us who you have at number 6.
I'm just going to give a disclaimer when it comes to any of my picks. I might use Arizona. I might use Utah. I think that's just everyone's going to be in that transitional period here. So just bear with me on that. I was prepared to take Cadden, and that just got taken off the board off me. And so that leaves me in a very interesting state right now. Arizona is also in they have a very deep prospect pool. They have all positions, so they don't need to be drafting positional based. They're really in a situation that should be taking best player available. I'm going to go with my best personal player available here, which might be a little off the board, and I have fair reason for it. And if they're doing the research in the proper area of North America and Ontario, I'm going Michael Haig. Now, Michael Haig, when he played U16 in Ontario, on an amazing age group, honestly the best age group I've seen since, he we just don't see it because there was a lot of older birthdays in that year, and he was the best player in that entire class. And I'm talking about, yes, Michael Neeson may have been a year younger, and yes, there was a lot of, you know, there's Spence, there's Martone. We're talking about players that are going to be top 10 next year. At the same age, yes, it's a different birthday, but during the same birth year, he was better than all of them. Last year, he goes in and has a devastating injury and really didn't play all season and was taken away. That made going into this year, people almost forgot he even existed. He came in this year, was hot out the gate, unfortunately loses his father. Another setback that brought him away from the game for a while. In the second half of the year, from what I've seen, he's in that same category of the players we're talking about, and a player like Cadden I was just going to take. And I think he's probably the most underrated player in this entire draft. And I'm thinking some teams are going to see that, and we're going to see him go a lot higher than consensus and on Twitter, and we're seeing on draft day. And there's going to be people jumping out of their seats at the Sphere, and it's going to be a player like Haig in the top 10. And I think Utah might be trying to be a team that's going to make a bang on draft day.
Yeah, it's definitely a big pick. I agree. He is definitely underrated. There's no doubt about it. I was actually considering picking up LA or Colorado and going with Haig with one of those two teams, making a big push to take him right around that 20 range. So that's big. That's a big pick. But I mean, listen, we all worked hard getting our wings in. So you trust your gut, and that's the job of a scout. So something like that could absolutely happen on draft day. I know there's Liam Greentree, Beckett Seneke, some bigger guys who go earlier than what some people may have them going. I know I'm fairly low on some of those guys, particularly Greentree, which I'll get into later when he is selected. Whenever, and probably late first, that's where I see him going typically. So yeah, I mean that's a big pick, and certainly a team could make a big swing, especially with the way the board's going, with Levnov still on the board, with Salayev still on the board as well. There's going to be some big swings. It'll be interesting to watch when draft day does come, but the way this board has fallen, it's been very interesting. I actually really like it. So Joey's on the clock now with pick number 7. Um, with the Ottawa Senators, Haig is off the board. There's still some notable names left. Who you got going 7 to the Senators?
So the Ottawa Senators, before anyone else pick the guy before them, I thought they're gonna jump on the stage and pick Artyom Levshunov. I mean, this guy he's not as complete as Dickinson, but he can impact the game in so many ways with his physicality, with his skating, with his puck moving. He may be a bit raw in some aspects, but I think the potential is really, really high. He has a high ceiling. Uh, he's a righty, and Ottawa Senators need a righty at the back end. So I think it's a no-brainer here. You're going with this guy. I thought about going with Zane Perek. He's so elite. He's so skilled, but I mean, I'm a bit afraid about his play in the defensive end. So I'm going with Levshunov.
All right, and there's that big defenseman there off the board. Someone, again, expected to go number 2, falls all the way to 7. That's just the way the draft falls sometimes, especially one weird pick could throw a domino effect in and GM start scrambling. So Levshunov falling to 7 to the Senators. I'm sure Ottawa will love that. Me personally, and I know Sam is in that same boat, we both reached out to the Ottawa Senators. They didn't respond, so I hope they take Beckett Seneke. Anyways, Chum Levshunov, obviously a great pick. I wrote an in-depth piece on him for FC earlier this year. So I tracked some of his games. I really do like Levshunov. But like you mentioned, there are some warts in his game. There's some issues that you have to look at. He's very raw. I know a lot of people comment any concerns with Levshunov. It's always a very raw prospect, and you see it with his defensive game. But honestly, every issue that I had from him at the beginning of the year, as I watched him through the year progressing, he got better in all those categories that I had as kind of red flags or warning signs in his game. He consistently was able to patch that up and find a way to improve in those areas. And how quickly he's kind of matured and grown in North America, considering the fact that he only played in Belarus just 2 years ago. It's really impressive how fast he's come along. So definitely a raw prospect, but a prospect that you can bank a lot on him reaching his full potential with how fast he's grown. So at number 8, it is the Seattle Kraken. Sam has just
Hey,
joined us.
boys. Hey.
Go ahead,
guys.
Sam.
All right, just filling in the Pickwick Central Registry, of course. So yeah, give me a second. So Seattle Kraken select forward Caden Lindstrom.
That's a nice pick. That's a nice pick.
That was the guy I was contemplating taking it for, along with Constantine Hellenius.
Stick to best player available.
So next is Grayson Goody running the Calgary Flames. I'm gonna tag him and see where he's at. But if anyone wants to add to Lindstrom while I update everything, feel free. Sam, if you want to elaborate on the pick, I know you said best player available. That's basic draft ideology, but tell us a little bit more about Lindstrom if you don't mind.
It's just simply getting the best player available. I have him at 3, and he's a complete player. It's just the potential there with him is insane. The size, the speed, the goal scoring ability, and also like the power game he has. To me, those are assets that not many have, and if you can add that, and now you have also with Seattle, like, you now have you now have Matty Beniers, you now have Shan Wright, and now you have Kalen Lindstrom as well down the middle. So that's as long as building a core going forward, it's as good as you can get it.
Actually, I want to know a little bit, pick your brain a little bit here, Sam, while we have a little bit of time. I want your thoughts on I believe it's the back issue for Lindstrom. Do you have any
I
thoughts on
have no fears there.
none at
So
all?
he was actually cleared prior to combine, and I wouldn't worry about it personally.
All right.
Wasn't
And
anything major. It wasn't anything major.
yes,
Yeah, exactly.
and I also want your thought on the Michael Haig pick at what was it, number 6, I believe, to Utah.
I was surprised, but
So yeah,
that's
we
the
still
goodest
have.
player.
Hey, you won't hurt my feelings. It's all about.
No, 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 I don't even want to. Like that was a surprising. I'm not sure that's gonna happen, but uh, he's a smart player. Like that's if you want like a smart second line center, that's your guy. And this compete level and everything he has, I think I can't be mad at that. A little surprising, of course, but that's what makes the draft exciting. Like there's always every year there's always a guy that's going to jump up into like top 10 that nobody expects.
Modern Snyder is a good
Uh,
example.
it's a good example of that. So yeah, a fun pick for sure.
So to go, well, again, with a little bit of time to kill, I'll give him a couple more minutes. Let's see here. I'll give him 2 more minutes to make a pick. I do want to make sure everyone's getting involved here. So while we're waiting, some notable names on Sam's list, since he is here. He has Cole Eiserman as his next best prospect still available. And then there's also my best player available currently is Anton Salayev. Bob McKenzie has him at 2. Future considerations, where me, Joey, Sam, and Chase all work, um, have him at 3. So Anton Salayev definitely, in this case, best player available. Eisenman close behind. You have some notable defensemen, Yves Bouillon and Zane Derrick, really close. And of course, Tisha Ginla. We know that Calgary might be come knocking here at number 9 as we wait. You never know. But I think that might be the pick. If it comes down to a group discussion, whenever it comes down to someone not making a pick in time, I leave it to the guys in the group chat video call here to make the decision. And Anton Salai may still be on the board after number 9, depending on how we feel about Iginla to Calgary. But yeah, while we wait, before we make a pick, let's have a little bit of a discussion, just so we can make the pick really quick if he runs out of time. Who do you guys see? We'll start with Fred here. If you were running Calgary, who would you pick? Would it be Iginla?
It's easy to say yes. That feels like the right pick to do. Like it fits and it would bring fans over immediately. Like just because of the last name. I know that's not the main reason he's getting picked. He has made a name for himself outside of his father, but that family history does bring in a lot, and I feel like that would be the easy and simple pick to make, especially when it's this close, because the top 10 is, or like top 20 almost, it's really hard to figure out because there's a lot of players. Once you pass Celebrinian, once that's done, there is a lot of wiggle room for changes of positions like we've seen already in this one. So I feel like it again will make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was high on Iginla from the beginning. I was one of the people that pushed Iginla up higher on FC's board when we had our final rings discussion. I believe Sam also pitched in with some support for Iginla moving up. Can't remember though. You pushed for Solberg. I know that. Stein Solberg was definitely
Yeah,
something.
that guy. Just don't let me pick anywhere near like 10 because I love it so much.
I watched him live this year, and that is some of the most impressive defensive work I've seen in like this year.
Like he's a 17, 18-year-old player just playing 22, 24 minutes a night on a championship team in his own country, on a national team amongst men, and also under 20s as well. Like that.
He's like a 30-year-old veteran, like half the time. I'm like, where does that point come from?
All right,
Yeah, pretty much.
so I cut you guys off, but I don't want to stay too long on one pick here. Unfortunately, Grayson wasn't able to get to the chat. Not a big deal. Hopefully, be in for future picks. But can we come to a consensus? Is it Iginla? Is it Slayev? Is it Iserman? What's the general feeling? Oh, let's go to Chase or Joey, whoever wants to take it.
Go ahead, Chase.
Oh, I just didn't think Salayev was still going to be here, so I feel like that's probably the route we should go.
Yeah.
All my 3 Western guys of Cadden and Lindstrom and Iginla are gone, so sorry, I'm kind of trying to work up a trade that I'm about to offer someone, so my mind was not there.
No, Iginla hasn't been taken yet. I think you mentioned Iginla's name. He hasn't been taken yet.
Oh, sorry. Wait. Is the Calgary pick in?
No, not yet. We were waiting for Grayson,
Okay.
who wasn't able to make the pick, so we were deliberating to see who we decide as a group here.
Regardless, I'd probably vote Salayev.
Salayev, who you have, Joey?
Again, that's the obvious choice here, especially since Calgary Flames fan maybe need some, I don't know, some sparkle, some things. They had a few years of struggle with departures of Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. But if I would be them, I would go with the best pick available, and for me, it would be Leaf Bime. And he's so impactful on both ends. He's highly intelligent, highly skilled. I wouldn't think twice about this, but I know the Flames would pick again just because of their hometown, just because of the name. I mean, it's so exciting for them, so it's the obvious choice.
Finally, not a PR nightmare for them. Something, at least something. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be Iginla. They love the Russian defenseman though. Like just maybe Silayev, but Iginla makes the most sense there.
Iginla? Fred, would you agree on Iginla?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
It's Alive is probably the best player. Again, there's one that
He
just
is.
any other team I would take with Alive.
Like,
But
if you want to build like a new core group of like hard, just full hard guys, like Iggy is your guy. Like he plays like there is no tomorrow. Like, I don't think he expects to survive like a playoff game he plays. So, uh, yeah, he plays just like his dad. It's, you see it.
I think there's a maybe an extra motivation for him to play for Calgary. I think
Oh my
he'll
god.
want to be the star. He'll want to be the main guy. He'll want to be the main offensive creator. So I think it's a fit.
All right, I'm able to speak up for this Devils pick. Taking my number one defenseman on the board. I'm shocked to see him here at 10, and I know New Jersey doesn't need him. But the Devils select Zeev Buium from the University of Denver.
Oh,
That's a great pick. I love William. I really do.
In 10, that's amazing pick.
Yeah. And I know you pick at 11 as well with Buffalo, but you want to give a little bit of background as to why you're picking William or why you had him as your number one, and then when you're ready, go on to number 11 with Buffalo, because I know you run both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll give me time to think about Buffalo a little bit. But Buium, I think, excels at the right areas of the game. Great at moving the puck through the neutral zone down the boards, knows how to attack the middle once he gains the offensive zone, and knows how to play the blue line beautifully when he's set up in the offensive zone. We look at players, quite frankly, like Zach Werenski, Charlie McAvoy, Quinn Hughes this season, all NTDP guys who followed a very similar development curve, excelled at similar traits, and are now superstars in the NHL. I'm not saying Z Williams going to be that, but I think that he plays a talent or plays a style, excuse me, that elicits that upside. I think he'll be able to find it somewhere. So super high on him. But moving on to Buffalo, the Sabres are going to round out their top six and get an upgrade on Alex Tuch with Trevor Connolly from Tri-City. Controversial pick. Certainly might raise eyebrows. I'm personally connected to Connolly ever since he started getting USHL draft attention, and I've never found him troublesome, problematic. It's my understanding that there's not much to be concerned about despite everything that's out there. And more importantly, on the ice, the kid's a standout. Drives play as aggressively as anyone in this class, knows how to skate the puck around the offensive zone for a full 60 minutes if he needs to open chances, create plays. It's fantastic. It's the exact kind of energy that Buffalo needs. They don't have a lot of that aggressive play driving right now. And I think it's going to be a style that, would work out well with Tage Thompson as more of a setup guy, Zach Benson as more of a down low in the corners guy. So real excited about landing this with Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, when I first watched Connolly, this is like early stages of watching, the 2024 class. I even considered having him top five. He just oozes skill. The ceiling is ridiculously high, in my opinion. Just the way he plays, the pace he plays at, and how he attacks in the offensive zone as well. Just really talented player. Obviously, character concerns, which you already talked about and touched on. He's made mistakes, no doubt about it, with just poor decision making, mostly with what he posts to social media, which I'm sure we've all been there at one point or another, to different extremes, of course. I don't think anybody's going to be posting what Connell did, but my point is, he's a young kid. Hopefully, the maturity will run out. That's always the hope. Some of these younger guys, but for Connolly, if he can figure out how to really put the puzzle pieces together and transfer his skill to a higher level, he could be a very, very, very good player down the road. It's just a matter of if he can put those raw skills together, because I really do think he is incredibly skilled, incredibly skilled. So at number 12, it is the Philadelphia Flyers. I know James Ike is, he's actually here, sorry. Whenever he's ready. I don't know if he can hear us. Let me see. I'll tag him in the group chat here. But he's on the clock with the Flyers. Still, and it's alive on the board. You think of the Flyers, especially the old Flyers days, the Broad Street Bullies. Salaiv's available. That could be a fit. I don't know if he'd fall this far at the actual draft. I highly doubt it. We all know how general managers feel about size, just generally. Doesn't always translate. Very, very few defensemen at that size have actually, panned out and made it big time in the NHL. For lack of a better term, it's just not something that happens very often. But we all know how GMs feel about size, especially 6'7", over 200 pounds. What was that, Sam?
Yeah, so like Silayev to Philly is just ridiculous.
The thing is,
You have
the
Sanheim, you have York. You have York, you have Sanheim, you have Silayev, you have Drysdale. And just goes on and on.
And the pick is in.
the
Sorry to cut you off, Fred, but the pick is in and
That's fair.
is Anton Salayev, and he actually gave a little bit of a reason here. He said it was very tempting to take Eiserman because of the goal scoring potential, but the Flyers have an abundance of wings, so they take Salayev, and he will help develop a relationship with Michkov for years to come. So, a little bit of Russian connection with Michkov. Obviously, brings size to their defensive core. Not someone he probably anticipated being available at this stage of the draft, understandably so, but it is Salayev going to 12. Again, best player available, just a quick recap. We got Cole Eiserman as the best player available on the consolidated list, followed by Zane Perrick and Michael Branson-Igord, which I know if he's available for Fred's pick, he'll be taken. Brings us to... Oh,
now.
look at that. Fred is on the clock.
Yeah, this is my pick, and I am in the position of, do I go with who is my best player available, or do I go positional need? Because it's no secret the Wild has a abundance of wingers.
Always go best player available.
You should, and that would be Cole Eiserman for me. However, there is the thing: the Wild has an abundance of good wingers. Ogren, Yudov is technically could be playing center or wing. They have a lot of interesting players like wingers. So defensively, they haven't developed quite well. Carson Lambos and Van Rock hasn't quite developed. So for me, the option is to go defenseman. Had Salayev been there, I think I would have picked him. I think I'm gonna go Cole Eiserman. I'm gonna go for the best player available. Take the guy that I think is going to be the best player. And it isn't long ago since it isn't like more than a year ago since he was like a consensus 2. Like he didn't quite develop as well as people were hoping for this year. I think he had a bit of a disappointing year. However, his shooting is so good. He is lethal. Like, that shot is in the already. And I think the Wild probably need that a little bit. They have their star players. They have good players like Kaprizov, Boldy, Rossi, Joel Eriksson. None of them really are that shooter. None of them are that sniper who will just rip it to a corner from anywhere. And I think Cole Eiserman, getting him at 13, Wild fan would be ecstatic if that happens.
Boldy, Rossi, Eiserman.
That's a scary line, isn't it? Yeah, I know Sam has been beating the drums for Eiserman just all year long. He absolutely loves Eiserman. So I'm usually
the most like you have to be two-way. You cannot be like a top player for me unless you have like the whole package. And with Eisenman, it's just like nobody in modern era does what he does, except for maybe Austin,
Put
who
him
played
with
pro.
put him with a player like Joel Eriksson, who is a defensive-minded player, or more defensive-minded, and I think you have something.
I would put him with all skill guys. Like you have a line of like Boldy, Rossi, and Eiserman.
That could also work.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. So by the way, I was like, if, I know this is a rumor. Rossi is like being rumored, like, oh, he might be on the trade block. I was like, no,
He's on the trade
don't
for
do that.
3 years. It's not happening.
Don't do it. So valid.
Pick number 14 is
Go.
Aaron. That pick is San Jose taking Carter Yakemchuk. I hope I'm saying it right. His reason is the big right defenseman they're lacking in their system. Take him over Perek as they are going to feel like they want a bit more size and already have power play options with Henry Thrun, Shakir McConnell, and maybe Addison. So thoughts on the Yakemchuk pick? I know Chase is on the clock at 15 with believe who was it? I lost my spot already. With Detroit. So Chase, if you want
I
to
just
talk
wait
about
until you guys are done talking about Yamchuk.
yeah, Yakimchuk to 14 at San Jose.
Yes, Sasha. I just wait until you guys are done talking about him before I pick.
Oh yeah. Does anybody want to talk about Yakimchuk at 14 to San Jose before Chase makes his pick? Just a quick. Nothing, Sam. You're always out.
He's I. How is Zane Park available?
Yeah,
That was the guy I was also. That was the guy I was thinking about along with Cole Eisen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, still available. So with that, I guess Chase. I have a feeling Chase is going to take him with this pick with Detroit because he feels him and Stein and Solberg feel like Detroit picks if Peck is still available. So let's see what Chase has under his sleeve here.
I was trying to like keep things normal after that Hag pick, and I think I might get more hate for not taking Breck here than I will for the Hag pick because I'm going Ontario, but that's not who I'm going. Because here's another thing too, I'm not going positional need because Detroit has everything. They have big D, they have small D, they have wingers, they have centermen. They literally have everything. So it's just the best player available. This comes down to a personal like, and I think this is a player that I think Stevie would really like as well. I'm sticking with my guns. I'm sticking with my confidence, and I'm going Jeluchenko. Now I can pitch Jeluchenko to anybody for hours on hours. This kid has a motor. He plays 3 inches bigger than how he is. He honestly a jack of all trades. He just really needs to work on his shot. He has so much faith and ability in his puck handling abilities and getting the puck to the net and going for drives that sometimes he forgets that like, oh, I'm in the top of the slot. Like maybe I should just take a higher percentage shot here. But that's the only flaw I really have with him. He has the amazing work ethic, good head on his shoulders. He's came from he came from literally just playing out in a little western town and then originally worked his way up. He didn't have a lot handed to him. He worked to get where he has. And big thing for Green Fights for me is players that every time I see them, they're better the next time than the last, and they've worked on the things that they needed to improve on. And he has constantly done that, and he's just the upside is through the roof. If I'm not a big comparable guy, but I just see so many shades of a Braden Point in him. And if you can get a Braden Point in the middle of the first round, like every team in the world's taking that. That would be my selling pitch if I'm in a Red Wings room, and I could go on for hours about this kid. The amount
Sorry, Sam Face said it all because as soon as you said Braden Point, I feel like he wanted to make eye contact with me for a second because Braden Point is probably.
I want to stare directly in your face.
That's the thing is, I'm making these. I've expected the hate. But that's the part of the
I like
game.
Lushenko. It's not hate. It's not hate. It's not hate.
Yeah, I like
No,
Lushko.
he's sick.
He's one of the guys that I thought I was super high on when I put out my final rankings. But evidently, going ahead of Zane Perrick, I feel like I'm in agreement with you guys. I do like Jet Lushko. Although
Going for
Braden
like
Point,
Seneke and Greentree to still be on the board as well. Like I get that, but it's just he's
yeah,
I
just
don't
a
like
hair
Greentree
he's just
that
a hair over him for me.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think he fit the Detroit identity at his time with players like
Jeez.
Casper, with player like Davidson. So I think Danielson, sorry, I think he's going to fit well in that top six in the future.
which brings us to pick number 16, which is St. Louis. And I'm sure this shocks everybody based on the shirt that Joey's wearing. He is picking for St. Louis. Go ahead. Again, Zane Parrick still on the board. Is he going to fall even further?
I thought about making it like a surprise pick, as Chase made with Michael Hagee and Luchenko, but I mean, you're picking 16 and there's still Zane Parekh available, and you need a defenseman, you need a righty as well. So I'm gonna go with him. St. Louis Blues select Parekh. I mean, he's so elite. He's so elite at offensively, seeing lanes, seeing everything in the offensive end. I know people are a bit bullish about his defensive abilities, but I think he manages well with his stick. Yeah, there's the physical part of it, but I mean, he's so elite. Yeah, I think he's gonna be like a 60-point guy in the NHL first power play for sure. But we'll see with his development. So
Yeah, again, you mentioned his defensive game. When I first watched him, I genuinely thought that his defensive game wasn't even all that awful. Like it's not great. It's not great. It's not at the level that it needs to be at for him to go to the NHL and be trusted by his coaches. But honestly, he plays with aggression, but he also has a good stick. So when he is aggressive on puck carriers, he does a really good job of winning that battle and getting that puck free and forcing turnovers. So I do think Zane Parrick's defensive game is a little overhated. Obviously, the concerns are still valid. There are a lot of things that he does need to improve, timing, and he plays way too aggressive at times in the defensive zone where he's pulled out of position. But I feel like that's something that it's a habit, and that's something you're going to have to live with. If he can just be even below average, is good enough with how good his offensive game is. So it's give and take with Parekh. If you can really stoke that fire, he will be a fantastic defenseman for
He's
whatever
super
team takes
smart,
him.
and you and me, Kyle, talked about this times over the year. Uh, is that with his skating, I don't think the defensive issue is gonna be an issue because those guys figure it out
exactly.
on the NHL because he has such good angles. He's such a good skater that I absolutely wouldn't worry about defense with him. He's just super smart offensive player, and the defense will come along. Whether that's like on the level of like Kel McCarr, who is like actually good now, or if it's just I don't know Quinn Hughes, who is basically average, which is completely fine for him and for the style of play he plays. So I wouldn't worry about defense with him, and the offensive talent is just through the roof.
Yeah. So,
Exactly. And you can play.
oh, go ahead, Joey.
I was saying, and you're gonna play with him with a guy like Theo Landstein, and you'll be fine. If you look at Quinn Hughes now, he's playing with Philip Roenick, and like if you manage to have a good partner with him, you don't really care about his defensive flaws. So I can see him grow with a guy like Landstein.
For
Yeah,
sure,
like
for sure.
Mikhail Sergachev with a defensively competent partner, maybe he does okay. But that's a discussion for another day. Sam knows that how I feel about Mikhail Sergachev on that front. So, with pick number 17, Washington selects Beckett Seneke. Anybody want to talk about? I know Chase, I believe you mentioned Beckett Seneke earlier. If you want to talk about Beckett a little bit before we get into pick 18.
Seneke's a weird one for me. Like he really came into this year a little disappointing for me, and I was not a big fan of his first half. And I thought that as a centerman, him being the last man in the back check was a huge red flag. And just some effort levels. Yeah, he had his flashes, but he was very much of like yeah, sure, I get you the flashy highlights, but his overall game, like I was seeing through that all day, and he worked on that. In the second half, I saw him. By the time I saw him in playoffs, and he turned into a dog, I was like really having to reconsider like where I had him, and he was very up and down for me all year. Started up, went down towards mid, and then he worked his way back up, and he definitely earned it. Um, Osh was going to be really good next year, and I don't know if Calum's still going to be there next year, but if he's still like there and making a massive impact for that team, like that's going to be good for the development, and he might be a step or two away from continuing this development that he's had going and being a really good pick, and honestly being a steal for where we're at. Like I genuinely was debating with that Detroit pick. I'm a homer for Luchenko, and I had to make that decision, but those are neck and neck for me.
Which
Yeah.
brings us.
I was
Ooh, go ahead, Ann. Sorry.
I was looking to actually move up and see Seneke with him dropping. I do think there's a lot of potential there. I think one thing you got to keep in mind is this is a player who was undersized when he was 16, who was undersized all of his rookie season and has had a big growth spurt. And so he's still adjusting to his body and to his new dimensions and that, but he has done well despite that. And I think that as he continues to get used to his body and to be able to control pucks with his longer stick and get around the ice and all of those things, that he's only going to become a better player as that happens. So I think that this is definitely a little bit too low for him to be going, and I think this is a steal. That's why I was putting in the chat that I was looking to move up.
Yeah, and again, Beckett Seneke is a guy that, I mean, same here with what Chase said. Beginning of the year, not impressed. I know I talked to Sam about it. Sam, I wasn't able to get many views the second half of the year. I mentioned it to Sam. He said, "Why do you have Seneke so low?" I told him my reasons. He said, "Well, push him up." So I rewatched his game, and he's back up in my first round. I had him in my
Making him
early
sound like a
second.
mob boss. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I wasn't very high on him for some time, and once I got to watch some of his playoff games, I realized that I was way off in my initial thoughts of him. And yeah, very good player, someone who's certainly rising up the ranks and could be a top 10 pick. I know with a couple mock drafts that I've seen, especially from Sam, has Seneke at 7 to Ottawa, so definitely a guy that I could see going a lot earlier than where he was taken here. So at number 18, it was the Chicago Blackhawks. Again, just a reminder, while he was picking for Chicago, he wasn't able to make it, unfortunately, but he did send me his list of prospects. And for number 18, he explicitly said, if there's any top 15 prospects still available, take that one. The only top 15 in the consolidated list still remaining is Michael Brandsegg-Nygård. So he will be the pick for Chicago. Thoughts on that? I know thought Fred was still here. Fred loves Michael Brandt.
Oh, I'm here. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Oh, I don't. Oh, there you are. Okay, you were behind everybody else. Sorry about that. I didn't see your name there. So go ahead, talk about Michael Brandt-Nygård. I know he's one of your favorites in this class. I'd love to hear your thoughts on him.
Yeah, he's just a wonderful defensive-minded forward who just does a lot of things well. Like he has so much energy. He has so much, like, I guess, swagger to him. While he's playing with that classical Swedish mindset, like classical Swedish hockey, a 200-foot game, you need to be good defensively. You need to be able to play all over the ice. The thing is, he's able to do with not biggest talent, but just hard work is incredible. He gets to so many chances just from being smart. Let the puck come to him, and then be ruthless once he gets a chance. Like his shot is really underrated in my opinion. I did see him once this year. There was a practice game before the Worlds where he played against Denmark. He scored 4 goals in that one game and absolutely torched Denmark completely. He is such a wonderful all-round player where if you ask him to do anything, he will do it and he will do it well. It's that classic saying of a jack of all trades, master of none, which sometimes it's used as a negative. For me, that's used as a positive here because he's extremely good in anything you ask him to do.
He's
So
got
number
he's got a pro shot. He's got an NHL pro shot.
Yeah.
So I went to Gothenburg at the World Juniors, and I was really impressed by him. Especially, I think I saw the game against Germany, and he was everywhere. He was everywhere. He was laying guys out. He was shooting pucks as much as he could, and I think he's maybe one of the most NHL ready forwards in this draft. So huge pick, huge pick.
You guys mentioned Sam Dickinson as one of the most NHL ready players. I think Vancek Nygaard is up there as well. That's one of the. If you ask him to play next year, could.
Absolutely.
So at 19, it's the Vegas Golden Knights. Nobody signed up for them, which is fine. That brings discussion to the group here. So a quick rundown of who is still available. We have Igor Chernyshov, Adam Yurchek, Stan Solberg, Liam Greentree, and Edie Emery are the 5 best player available. Now, I would love to ruin Sam's day, but that is not my role for this draft. So I will wait and see what you guys want to pick.
I'm gonna say nothing.
What feels like the most Vegas pick?
Well,
They get big green tree.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I have questions. I just don't know.
Vegas.
So
What did you say, Chase?
I was gonna make a push for Green Tree, but I don't know enough about the Euro guys to like have a fair comparison with some of those. But this is a range that I would assume that he'd be going.
You
one
feel
thing
that
for
the same
sure,
as-
I think Vegas are
yeah.
going for the best pick available. That's for sure. They're going for talent, no matter what position. I don't think they're scared of picking Russian players as well. So I thought about Chernyshov, but
So it's
Green Tree
between
would
basically
be,
Chernyshov and green tree.
yeah.
I definitely think it's between.
And you have all
Those two.
the like star centermen basically locked up forever. So you need cheap talent around them. If you can get like Liam Greentree playing with I don't know, Jack Eichel of all people, or William Carlson or Thomas whoever it is, I think that makes the most sense. Either Greentree or Chernyshov. Same thing.
Yeah, and I heard Ben to speak up there. I didn't catch what you said. If you wanted to add to the conversation there, Ben.
I think if we're looking at best player available, it's definitely down to Chernyshov and Greentree. I tend to favor Chernyshov a little bit, but I don't think they'd be wrong with either choice, and I think it's definitely down to those two.
Yeah, so based on what I'm hearing everyone's skewed more towards Greentree. So if everyone's in agreement with that, I'll send that into the chat now. If anyone wants to object and push Chernyshov, I'm all ears. But it looks like everyone's kind of in agreement with the Greentree here. All right, so Greentree is going to the Vegas Golden Knights.
How rare is it for Vegas to have a first round pick, by the way?
Yeah.
They had the last one last year, didn't they?
Did they? Oh yeah, they took
Yeah.
David Edstrom. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So next is in your calendars, that is Sam. But before I pass it over to Sam, I did say earlier that I am not particularly high on Greentree. I'm just going to throw out the biggest reason for me. It's his off-puck senses. Maybe that's, if anyone agrees with me here, I just did see enough where away from the puck, he was putting himself in good spots and good positions to score and to generate chances for himself and his team. I just didn't see that enough. And for me, and this is something, I can't remember, Fred, you'll remember. The Wild picked him in the second round, I believe, last year, and I was super,
Riley Heights?
Yes, Riley Height. He reminds me a lot of Riley Height. Now, I'm wrong, and I'm glad that Riley Height proved me wrong because I'm never rooting against these kids, but I was very against Riley Height, so maybe I am overrating this aspect or overanalyzing. But a big thing for me is like hockey IQ and the ability to kind of find space and put yourself in positions to score. even if you're not scoring a lot on those chances, the fact that you're getting there tells me if you have better line mates, you're going to get more opportunities down the line, and it's only a matter of time before your offense, explodes. I see that enough from Greentree. He is still a very skilled player. He's got size as well, so I don't see any issue with him transferring to the NHL. I just don't know about his ceiling moving forward, which is why, me personally, I don't see him as a top 20 pick, but again, he's a very good player. My ranking definitely skews the consensus a little bit. But yeah, Greentree is still a very talented player. And if Vegas takes him, I have a really bad feeling he's going to turn into a villain in Vegas. And that just makes me like him even more. But see what happens in real life. On to pick
It's
number 1
definitely a
again.
boomer bust prospect. Definitely a boomer bust prospect.
It brings us to the Islanders with Sam. We talked about Chernyshov already. He's still the number 1 pick available. If that's who you're going with, let's see where you have.
So he's not my best player available. I'm gonna go with my best player available and someone I feel like could realistically be a New York Islanders pick, and that's Steven Stolberg. That feels like Lou pick.
That feels really right for some reason. I don't know. That feels like such an Islanders pick because again, you get the maturity of a player who just plays
You have
dominate.
Bellick, you have Dobson, you have Bullock, and now you have Solberg. That rounds out your top 4. That's ridiculous.
You're not scoring on that.
He is
Yeah.
he is a punished defenseman too, so he's someone who will intimidate, anybody who's trying to skate down on his side. Super smart with stick too. He's not, they're defensemen that they're aggressive, they play physical, but they also get themselves out of position, or they miss their hits, or they mistime their hits. Solberg's on time almost every single time. I don't think I've seen him really miss.
Super detailed. Yeah.
Yeah, super detailed as well. Yeah, you were one of the first people that pointed out to me before, when I started getting my viewings on him. You pointed out a few instances, and I looked back, rewatched games, and I saw exactly what you were talking about. And yeah, the attention to detail and just the pure skill. He's a really good player. I think he's someone. He's not going to, down the line. He's not someone who I think is going to pop off the page. He's not going to be considered that elite defenseman. I think he's probably going to end up as a very underrated defense, someone who's kind of overlooked. But when playoffs come around,
So basically a typical Islanders defender.
yeah.
Like
But
Adam Pelech, yeah, Ryan Bullock.
Yeah.
I think
When the
my
playoffs-
best description of
When the
Sorry.
playoffs come
But, like,
around,
bigger-
though, he's going to be front and center. People are going to be thinking about him. But as soon as the regular season's back, he's going to be under the radar again. So he's one of those defensemen, I feel like, on the line that he's going to be under a microscope in the playoffs, but completely just disregarded during the regular season for the fact that he's not exactly the high-end offensive guy. But our next pick here, lost my spot again. Next pick is Los Angeles, which is run by, where am I? Nobody. Okay, cool. So LA's not picked by anybody here. Let me just put that. If anybody wants it, I was thinking about signing up for LA. So if no one claims the LA Kings in each group chat, I will happily pick for them because I do think I know who the LA Kings would want. It's tough though. There's a couple guys I'm looking at for LA. You think Chernyshov?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking. So there's 3 guys I'm looking at for LA, which just pop off to me as like LA guys. It's Chernyshov, it's Emery, and it's Boisvert. I don't know if you agree with me on the Emery front, but those are the 3 guys. Sam just wants him to go to. Sam just wants him to
Emery
go
does not exist. What do you?
I'll give it a couple more minutes here. See if anybody wants to claim LA. If not, I'm gonna go Emery and ruin Sam's night.
By the way.
But anybody, just a
Well,
discussion.
there might be something happening if somebody picks Emery.
Yeah, I mean,
See what
again,
happens.
Chernyshev's the best player available. Yurchek's, based on consensus, is the second best. You have Emery as the third best, Sasha Boisvert as the fourth best, and then Andrew Basha as the fifth best. Those are the next five ranked players on the consensus list. I'm more than happy going with Chernyshov. It makes sense. He's one of the three guys that I'm looking at right now for LA. He's also the best player available, which I think LA doesn't get a lot of credit for how well they draft as well. So I feel like they wouldn't really bat an eye if had this list. I feel like they would go Chernyshov. I don't think they're really going to think too much about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, I'm just going to pick for him. I'm going to say Igor Chernyshov. If anyone wants to talk about that, I know Sam, I don't know how much you watch Chernyshov, but if you want to talk about him, feel free while I update everything here.
So Chernyshov is a prototypical power forward. He's very smooth on the puck. He's a great skater. He's forcing his way into the net every single shift he plays. Um, he's good at cutting people off in neutral zone, which is a big part of modern game. When it comes to like basically creating chances and turnovers. So I think I don't think he's gonna be a player that's gonna run a line himself, but that's a player that I think fits the that I think fits, that fits exactly what LA wants in players. You have guys like Adrian Kempe, you have Philip Dano and others as well. Like you have players that just hunt the pucks defensively, and he's one of those.
So, sorry,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to add on that front, he fits their positional needs. From the prospect pool, if you look, they got nobody at left wing, so especially with a player as talentful and impactful, physically impactful as Chernyshov, I think it fits.
And that was kind of the thing with Emery as well. I feel like they have enough defensemen. Like that was a reason for instance, trading Brock Faber, which is a very similar type of player to the Minnesota Wild back in the day, because they had of defensemen down there. So,
which takes us to pick number 24. Sorry, 23, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
22.
22.
22? Oh,
Yep,
geez.
one more.
Special.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Get some sleep, buddy. Jesus.
I've been prepping for this the whole time. How am I supposed to get sleep? All right. I mean, do I even have to let you talk? I know who you're gonna pick here. Can I answer it myself?
Who did Nashville pick?
No, oh, Nash. Sorry, I thought they announced it in the chat. My brain thought I already said it. So Nashville at 22. Alex McLean runs them. He said Trotz said he wants to swing on upside in the draft, and with guys like Haig and Connolly going early, who won't slip past Nashville on Friday, they're left here with Adam Yurchek, who seems to have the highest potential to pop. So Adam Yurchek, two Nashville Predators, at number 22. I'm sure Sam is very, very excited to see that Adam Yurchek was the pick there and not the other
That was
guy.
a great pick by Alex. I appreciate that. All right, so with 23rd overall pick.
Quickly, maybe a few words on Yurchek, considering that's the first player from your country
We
going.
had a rough year. With injury, and also he didn't adjust that well to the pro level. No, he wasn't as good as his brother, and if anybody expects him to be David, it's just not gonna happen. Just completely different players. Adam is a great skater, so that I think is a big thing. Defensively, he's really solid, but he had a rough year. There's a lot of games where he just sort of like tried to just figure things out, and he wasn't he wasn't that particularly good or effective, and it's just I don't know. To me, he's a player that's gonna need a few years to figure it out on a pro level to get there. There's a lot of potential for sure, uh, especially with the smarts he has. But uh, yeah, long term project really, which I think fits the natural really well under Trotz. So to me, that makes sense with selection, and also it fits me. So
So yeah, pick number 23. I've known this for the last like 4 months now. Who you who you want Toronto to pick here? But I know you're really excited, so go ahead. Tell us who you want.
23rd overall pick, Leafs select EJ Emery, the NTDP. The best defensive defenseman of this year's draft class. Just so incredibly smart defensively. He reads the lanes so well. He cuts people off so well. And what is like underrated aspect, in my opinion, is that not much is happening when he's on the ice, just because he reads the place so well. He's like 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone, and so he shuts down any opportunity even before it develops into something dangerous. And I think that's something that Leafs could really use, or any team around the 20th spot could really use. So maybe he would not be there. I was a little like worried because you have a lot of smart people on here. So I was like, maybe someone will pick him, but no. So he's there. I'm picking him for the Leafs, and I think that makes the most sense.
I can also say a little bit of insider information here. I'll play my best Bob McKenzie, Elliot Friedman here for the mock. There was actually a trade in place between Toronto and Minnesota, I believe. Right? Was it Minnesota? Yeah. Where
Yeah.
Toronto was willing to trade back if one of two players were not available, one of them being Emery. So he comfortably makes that pick at 23. Otherwise, he was more than happy to trade down, which takes us to pick number 24. Pick number 24 is Colorado Avalanche. No one signed up for them. If anyone in the group here wants to pick them up, feel free. Speak up if you'd like. No one in the group chat on Twitter um, has spoken up about picking for the Avalanche. So if anybody wants to pick for them, if not, we can go into a discussion. If anyone's interested, because for me, I don't know why, but Ryder Ritchie feels like the Avalanche pick. I mean, if anyone wants to speak up and say their piece about who they think the Avalanche pick, but for some reason, Ryder Ritchie is standing out to me on the available list here.
It's funny. I was looking at names as you were talking, and like before you said Richie's name, some energy just pulled me to him. So I don't know why, but something's going on there.
How about you, Fred?
Um, like Richie's one of those that kind of, I don't know if he escaped some of my scouting a little bit, but he went on the radar for me until very recently, where I kind of went, hang on, there might actually be a player here that's worth watching. And I do give you that. That feels like one of those smart, sensible Colorado picks that just makes the roster in a role that they needed when they needed.
Joey, any words on any other players, or if you think Richie's a fit there too?
I don't know. Richie seems fine to me. It, we don't really know what they need. I mean, the Avalanche, they're probably going to go with the best pick available. Sasha Bova would have been a good one for me too. But I think they maybe need a little bit more wingers than centers here. And Richie's on my at the top of my list for the remaining wingers. So I would go with him. I don't know.
All right, so I will send that in. for the Avalanche pick. All right. So now that we have gone through the 24 picks, we're on to number 25. Sacha Boisvert is still available. Andrew Bosch is still available. At pick 25, it is the
Ottawa.
Ottawa Senators. Who signed up for
Yeah.
Ottawa here? Oh, Joey. All right, perfect.
So Ottawa first one with Lev Shunov. So I'm probably not gonna go with the defenseman or righty here. I think they're gonna go with Sacha Boisvert here. Big guy, big middle six center that could fit well in their lineup. Ottawa's not that far from Quebec. Boisvert's a Quebecer, so I can see the links here. Really like this game. I think not going to be a high-end offensive player, but he has some untapped offensive potential, and especially with his physique, I think he's going to be a really good player.
And a really good pick there as well. He's another guy that I picked up a lot of games on from the U.S. side of the scouting world. Another guy that I have right around like 25, so this is a really good spot for him to go. Again, he was the best player available on the consensus rankings, excuse me. So definitely makes sense. Again, best player available. Ottawa could use a little bit of that. Earlier in the draft, they took Artem Levshunov, which was obviously a home run pick based on everything we've come to know Levshunov, and now getting another best player available at their second spot in the first round. So far, I mean, this is exactly the way Ottawa was probably hoping for the board to go. I mean, you can't really ask for much more for the Senators based on the way this draft has gone. So another really strong pick there. Towards the end of the first, which takes us to pick number 26, which is the Montreal Canadiens. I'm sure Ben is rolling a little bit that a Quebecois player was taken before the Habs selection here, but I'm sure you have somebody else up your sleeve here. Who you going 26 to Montreal?
Yeah. I was gonna go with Bob Ware if he was on the board. So Joyce just took him picks before me, but I do think that Montreal earlier in the draft I wasn't here, but I sent in my picks and got Berkeley Catton, so I'm pretty happy with that. The Canadians do need an influx of talent at forward, whether that be at center or on the wing. It doesn't really matter. You can move a player like Kirby Dach to the wing. You can move a player like Alex Newhook to the wing if you need to. So whether you get a center or a winger, it's not a big deal here. And so I'm going to go with Cole Baudouin from the Barrie Colts. He's a big power forward type, which is something that outside of Slafkovsky, the Habs don't have a lot of young, big forwards in there. And Kirby Dach, who we mentioned earlier as well, has that size. But you're looking at guys like Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki and now Berkeley Catton. I think some size is needed here, and so we're going to go with Baudouin, who gets to the front of the net, wins battles on the boards, plays a two-way game, and has a very good shot. And all of those things, I think, will be whether the Habs keep him at center or move him to the wing down the road. I think that will be effective in their top six.
Yeah, really good pick. Again, another guy with a lot of size. There's a few guys here in this draft that I have right around late first, early second, who are big-bodied power forwards. And there's another one off the board right there to Montreal, which takes us to the very next pick, which is Carolina at pick 27, which is run by Alex McLean. Alex sent into the group chat, Carolina takes the pro-ready Nikita Artemanov, who looked great in the KHL this year as a rookie. Anybody want to touch on Nikita Artemanov from this season? Anybody have any words on that pick? Joey?
Don't know him that well, so I'm not going to comment on the European guys.
Sam, are you still able to speak here? I know you watched a lot of Euro guys throughout the year. Because, again, I'm not too familiar on Artemanov off the top of my head, so I don't want to sound like an idiot here.
Super energy guy. Can tell you, really fast. He needs to work on his posture. He looks like Nick Robertson mostly, which he has one of the worst postures I have ever seen in a player, the offense. So yeah, uh, energy guy, great support player. He plays every shift like it's his last. That's a big thing about him. I know this right away. Like, first few shifts, you see it every shift. Um, I think it makes sense for Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he falls on the draft day.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised by that, but I love his style. Like if he can fix his, well, he's a fast skater, but the posture and everything just makes it look rough. But he's really good. And what people don't won't consider, but the production in KHL, I think, just speaks for itself. He was involved massively a lot.
and it definitely feels like a Carolina pick. They've never shied away from going down the Russian route and banking on upside, especially when it comes to skaters. So everything you based on everything you said, again, not too familiar with Artumonov's game. I focused a lot of my energy on North American guys, but based on everything you've said, Artumonov definitely screams Carolina, which takes us to pick 28 for the Calgary Flames. Grayson was picking for Calgary. Grayson from Future Considerations Hockey. He selected Dominic Badinka at 28 to the Calgary Flames. Anybody have any thoughts on that Badinka pick to Calgary?
I like it. It's a really good pick. Barinka has been pretty much. He had a similar season to Beckett Senecki when it comes to like not being impressive at all to start the year. Like he was out of first two rounds for me personally. It's just another depth pick, whatever. And he got better as the year progressed and ended up being really good on the SHL level. So to me, that's a guy that makes sense at the tail end of the first round, and especially for Calgary, who is looking for big defensemen, as many as they can get. Apparently, great first pass, great skater.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned before with the KHL, like this kind of also counts, I think, to him. Like playing in the SHL at this level is that isn't easy to do as a youngster coming in,
Especially for a defenseman.
Yep, exactly, for a defenseman, and actually playing bigger minutes is incredibly rare, and it shows a lot about how he plays the game in. I know this is a cliche to say, but like he plays the game in the right way. So for me, I think it's just
Yeah,
Plays simple.
for this second half of the year, he was definitely playing top 4 minutes in the SHL, and I don't know a lot of draft eligible players who are playing those kind of minutes in that league. Arguably, that league's the best European league right now, ahead of the KHL. I think there has been some issues in the KHL in terms of imports. They've lost a lot of imports since the war, and that has happened. And I think the SHL has overtaken them as a league overall. And so to play those kind of minutes in what's arguably the best league in Europe is pretty impressive for a 17-year-old, and he played them well. They were certainly earned minutes. They weren't because his team was forcing it or anything like that. He definitely deserved to play over 20 minutes a night, and so that anytime you're doing that at 17, you got to take notice of that.
I want to say the SHL is a more balanced league than the KHL. I think the KHL is incredibly top heavy. Like the best teams in the KHL is probably better than teams in the SHL, but there are teams that absolutely would play that would be relegated in that extension.
It's not good. Like there is a reason less and less players translate over well.
So after the Badinka pick, that takes us to pick number 29 with Dallas. Again, no one signed up for Dallas, which brings some discussion. And again, I know Dallas. Dallas loves picking who they feel, regardless of where the consensus has them. They have, I wouldn't say they have a type, but we've seen it with the Wyatt Johnston picks, among other selections in recent years, where they don't care about the public rankings. They don't care about central scouting rankings. They care about what their scouts feel. They aren't afraid to draft if they're too small or, whatever the case may be. They're not scared of taking risks on players who they truly feel have the upside that they're looking for. With that said, there are two players who come to mind, and that is Henry Muse and Tanner Howe, because they both have, in my opinion, upside there.
I'll give you a name. Derek Parashchuk.
Tariq Parashchuk, and yeah, actually, that makes way more sense than
because Dallas every single year they take someone. They basically take who has the most points and the raw talent, and let's just pick him for.
Can I just?
We don't care if
I'm really disappointed in
4 years
myself.
to get in there.
I'm really disappointed in myself because he is my highest ranked player on my board, and I didn't even.
Yes, I am.
So, Parashchuk, if anyone wants to speak on Parashchuk or say, someone else fits the bill for Dallas, me personally, I can't believe I skimmed past Parashchuk. I was so excited to bring up Tanner Howe because to me, I think, again, that's another guy, he's a smaller guy, but he's another guy that I think Dallas might take a look at. What do you say, Sam?
But yeah, I like how he finds open space like so easily, so quickly, and that's what makes him produce that much like this past season. So and the Stars, that I don't think they have any right wingers and like notable right wingers in their prospect pool, so that makes sense as well.
I'm not saying you should throw him in this conversation, but I will not be surprised on draft day if they go with like a Merrick Vanacker.
As well.
That rubs me kind of the direction they'd go if they go for an OHL player here. Trust me, I'm a bigger Muse fan than anybody, but I just can't see Dallas doing that. I see more of like a Vanacker here.
Did that sway you at all, Sam? I see you're kind of.
I would not be surprised about that. I would not be surprised about that. I don't know. I don't like him that much. To be honest,
Vanacker's not even my like best Ontario player available. There's something I'm seeing there.
I mean, I personally, I like shout from Sam. I like the shout out from Sam on Tariq Parashchuk there. He's another guy. He's not the biggest guy, but he just has a nose for getting pucks like to the middle of the ice. He has such a knack for funneling pucks to the middle of the ice. Good passer, strong shot. I mean, he's well balanced offensively, and I just love the tenacity that he plays with. I mean, me personally, again, Parashchuk was 15 on my board. And Sam said 50. Like, he even called me out on it. He said 15 seems a bit rich for Parashchuk, but yeah, I really do like Parashchuk. So for me personally, I would love Parashchuk to the Stars. The Vanacker shout out also. I mean, for some reason, I get this feeling a lot just reading the names. I don't have to know anything about the player. I'll just read someone's name, and for some reason, it just clicks in my head that team feels like it just that name on the back of that jersey fits. I don't know why I get that feeling, but when you said Vanacker, I put the two and two together, and that just makes sense too. I don't know why, but it does make sense because I'm not super high on Vanacker either. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Fred? It looks like it's between Vanacker and Parashchuk here. If you were the Stars,
I honestly am not even throwing go with Parashchuk. Like I don't listen to the Vanacker thing. I was just. You said Muse, and I was more so like if we're going Ontario here.
Yeah,
I Muse go Vanacker.
I don't see the Muse thing just because of the failed Julius Honka experiment and failed Nils Lundqvist experiment and any other failed experiments with small puck moving defensemen. So
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll go.
I think Parasite makes the most sense here as well.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go Parashak there for the Stars. Which brings us to pick number 30 for the Rangers. Let me get my bearings straight here. The Rangers don't have anybody, so back to the discussion board again. Who do you got? I mean, Andrew Bosch's best player available. Feels like a Rangers pick there. Emil Hemming's the next best player available, followed by Aaron Kviharju, Maxim Masse, and Matvei Gradin. Any of those guys, any of those top available guys based on the consensus board here, ring a bell to you guys for the Rangers?
Andrew Basha makes a lot of sense. Again, you mentioned it feels like a pick that's very much New York Rangers. Compare him a little bit to Jimmy BC in a way, like both incredibly fast skaters, with a lot of like intelligence to the game, but also on the smaller side. Which kind of the one criticism I have about Andrew Basha is I think he lacks balance to kind of help his case. Like a lot of players will kind of counteract size with good balance and being a good skater in that regard. I think he gets knocked off the pocket a little bit easy, and I think he needs to improve on that. But I do see a player here that would be interesting on the Rangers.
Yeah, I too see the Basha and Rangers connection. That's what I was going to bring up as well, and I think his speed and elusiveness would fit in well with their forward group. They do have plenty of size and in that group already in that top six, and you can see where they've got more coming. But I think they can afford to take a chance on someone with high end skill who maybe lacks a little bit of size.
Everyone in agreement with Basha to the Rangers?
Makes sense.
yeah, sure.
The Flyers fan in the group chat said, "Give them the worst player." So we're giving them the best available player still on board. Let's see here. So the next, the next pick, he did not like that selection at all. My computer can speed up here. Is it's Anaheim, which is me. Bosch off the board kind of sucks now in hindsight because I would have picked him for Anaheim. So earlier in the draft, I picked Sam Dickinson at number 3 for Anaheim. Probably not the pick that Ducks fans are hoping for. With Salayev and then Levshunov ended up being available at 3 too. But again, I went with my top defenseman, and that was Sam Dickinson. There's a couple guys I'm looking at for Anaheim here. Man.
Linus Eriksson. I mean,
Honestly, I might go with my best player available on my board. Hold on, I need to.
on my board, it's Emil Hemming.
Emil Hemming.
He's the
I'm
best.
not super high on
PPA.
him.
Hemming would. Me neither. Well, I like him, but maybe not at the 31st spot.
Yeah, I think he's more of like a second round pick, like early mid second. My best player available on my.
Also, think about it. Anaheim is obsessed with CHL. Like,
Yeah.
it's basically from where they take all the players.
Maybe Maxim Masse? Don't know.
Maxim, yeah, that's another good one there from the queue. Miguel Marcus is another guy that's too.
Oh, I have a name. Sammy O'Reilly.
See, I'm not too familiar with Sam O'Reilly. That's the thing. He wasn't on my radar until super late, and I don't have enough viewings on him to like trust to pick him with my own pick. I might go because I was thinking Matvei Sharavin is my top player available, but that's not a Ducks pick. And they already picked Dickinson, who was a left shot defenseman. They need another. I mean, they really need another top defenseman there. I think I'm gonna go with Miguel Marcus because it's a bit rich. I feel like, but he is my best CHL player still on the board. Um, I'm gonna. I don't know. Chase watched a lot of CHL games here. How do you feel about Miguel Marcus to the Ducks?
I'm mainly like I'm like 99% Ontario, so I'm not gonna go
All
too
right.
deep on that. I don't want to speak on players I'm not as comfortable with.
Yeah.
Man, I think I'm gonna go with Miguel Marcus. I think it's a bit early for him. He is my best
Makes sense.
CHL player still on the board, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Miguel Marcus for the Ducks here. And locking it in. It's too late to take it back now. All right. No, I mean me personally, I
Guess
feel
in
like what was that?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do like McMarcus. He was just inside my top 32, my first round range there. I did have higher, but he fell on my board a little bit as I got more watches. Specifically, Beckett Seneke pushed him down. Was one of the guys that pushed him down. Stein Solberg pushed him down towards that second half of the year. But he is a really good playmaker. I think I mean, in my viewings of him, I really liked his playmaking abilities. Again, I think it's just a little too early for me. I think, but Anaheim got Sam Dickinson, in my opinion, the best defenseman in the draft. I think they go forward with their late first. Maybe I could have looked to trade down and gotten Marcus later. Ducks do have a few throws in the first couple rounds here, so I think they really need to get more picks necessarily. So yeah, I think Marcus is a fine pick at 31. Could have had him at 35. I feel like if I waited, maybe gone somewhere else, but I'll go with Miguel Marcus at 31, which brings us to pick 32, just the Philadelphia Flyers. James already sent his pick in. He said after getting their big top pairing defenseman at pick 12, the Philadelphia Flyers select a forward in Teddy Stiga with their second pick of the first round. That was another guy I looked at. I do like Teddy Stiga, but he does, in my opinion, he screams Flyers pick there from my doings of him. I mean, he's just got a motor, relentless, really, and yeah, he's definitely a Flyers pick. In my opinion, he is definitely a Flyers pick in my eyes from everything we know about the Flyers and the history and stuff like that. Stigas, to me, feels
There are a
like
lot of USHL gesture.
yeah,
I know USHL into DP.
yeah, yeah. It didn't work out well for that Cutter Gauthier, but we won't bring that up to James. Which brings us to the end of the first round. So I'm going to quickly do a rundown of the first round with the first pick. Probably shocked everybody. Macklin Celebrini to the San Jose Sharks. At pick number 2, it was Ivan Demidov to the Blackhawks, which was probably the first twist that we had in the draft. Third pick, Anaheim Ducks picked Sam Dickinson. At number 4 is Columbus taking Consta Helenius. At number 5, it was Montreal taking Berkeley Catton. 6, it was Utah with the biggest surprise in the draft, who's Michael Haig. At 7, Ottawa picked Artyom Levshinov. 8, Seattle took Caden Lindstrom. At 9, Calgary took Tija Ginla. At 10, New Jersey took Zeev Bouillon. 11, Trevor Connolly to the Buffalo Sabres. 12, it was Anton Salayev to the Flyers. At 13, it was Cole Eisman to the Wild. 14, Yakimchuk to the Sharks. Then it was Lushenko to the Red Wings, Perek to the Blues, Seneke to the Capitals, Brensek Nygaard to the Blackhawks, Liam Greentree to the Golden Knights, Solberg to the Islanders, Chernyshov to the Kings, Yurchek to the Preds, Emery to the Leafs, which is Sam's dream there. I'm sure he's happy hearing that again. Ritchie to the Avalanche, Boisvert to the Senators, Beaudoin, I don't know, to the Canadiens, Artemanov to the Hurricanes, Badinka to the Flames, Parashak to the Stars, Basha to the Rangers, Marcus to the Ducks, and Stiga to the Flyers. which brings us to the Sharks to start round 2. And Alex already sent his pick in. To the Sharks, it's Lucas Pettersson and a pick that feels reminiscent of Philip Bystead. He was actually going to go with Teddy Stiga there, but had to switch up after he was taking one pick earlier for the end of day 1. So he goes Lucas Pettersson. Any thoughts on the Lucas Pettersson pick from either Sam or Fred, who are Euro guys here?
Yeah.
I'm not high on Pedersen. I gotta be honest. It's
Sam, same boat there. I heard you kind of
Pretty much.
pretty much the same thing. All right. So
But they have a lot of picks, so taking a flyer on a skilled guy like that, I think makes sense.
yeah, yep. And start round 2. Sharks are in a long rebuild here. They don't really need to rush anybody, so they can take their time, kind of finding that right development plan for Pedersen as well to get him on the right track moving forward. Definitely, I think that's not a bad pick at all. And I'm a big sucker for the Swedish guys. I love the way they play out in Sweden. So Pedersen, I think he's a really good pick. Is it a bit early? Probably. I think he's more of like a mid-second round pick. And
You could go as high as late first. I wouldn't be surprised by that, actually.
yeah,
I think one thing that I just miss consistency from him. I feel like he often he's so like it's shift for shift how he plays. There's no consistency to his game, and it really bugs me how he can be invisible for one shift and then great on the next, and then terrible on the third shift.
yeah,
So one thing about that is, like, that's the first thing NHL teams look at. The consistency that they always, they always try to uh, fix the skating. That's one. That's one thing, and consistency. So those two are not things that I would be particularly worried about as much as people like to bring it up, and they should bring it up. But those are the things that teams look to erase as soon as they get them in the system.
So at 34, Sam, you're gonna love this pick. We've had discussions about this player multiple times throughout the year, and one specific time, Wally sent me his list. His top pick was Dominic Badinka at 34, but Badinka was already taken. So his second preference was defenseman Charlie Elick at 34 overall. Now, I mentioned I had discussions with Sam before about Elick. Fun fact, I have Elick ranked 83rd on my board, so not exactly the biggest fan. Now, I'm not trying to bring down anyone's selections here. But me personally, and Sam has him just inside 60. So I'm not alone in this assessment. And again, I've had discussions with Sam here. I don't like Elick so much. He's not a bad player by any means, and Sam said the same thing, and I'm going to use exactly the same thing that Sam said. I don't think I've ever seen him put together a string of 3 passes in a row, completed passes in a row on the breakout. In my eyes, it was really frustrating to watch, especially as a puck mover. I think there's still something there, of course. These guys are top 1% Augie players in the world. So obviously, there's a chance
He
for
has a
any of
great
them.
shot. I will tell you that.
Yes.
Like, he has a great shot from the blue line.
Indeed.
He's physical. He's really good defensively. He knows his angles, so that's like really positive. But the passing game, oh my god! I watched 2 games of his, and I'm not sure he had like 2 shifts where he completed all his passes. Just throwing it away, basically. Like Martin Marincin, the big Jesus out of passes. Leave it.
Yeah, no, I think there's
So-
a base that you can build for Elick, but I think he's going to be more of a second pair, bottom pair guy that has a big shot, can play physically, but I don't think he has the ceiling to be a consistent top 4 defensemen, really. So I'm not a huge fan of that pick. But that takes us to pick 35, which is the Anaheim Ducks, which is me. Kind of looking at the board, don't really see anybody that I'm comfortable taking at this spot. There's a couple guys I'm eyeing, but I don't think this is the way that Anaheim would go. So I'm going to take the best player available. I'm going to go ahead and say they take Emil Hemming. Um, I think it makes sense. They took Miguel Marcus earlier at 31, so they have that kind of skilled playmaker that has the upside. If they can get him to translate his skill to a higher level, they have a player in Miguel Marcus, in my opinion, kind of a middle six playmaking type that can provide some offense. Maybe not as the focal point, of course, but as more of a, again, second middle six winger there for them. Now with Emil Hemming, they get more of, I would say, a sure thing. I think not so much that he's guaranteed going to the NHL, but I think his style, his size, and his traits that he brings to the table just will translate smoothly to the NHL, a lot more smoothly than some of the other guys that I think are currently on the board. He's more of like a bottom six guy, but I think if you can get that depth and hope that he can hit on the upside that he has, you could get a pretty solid middle six wing again in Hemming, who has the size and the physical traits and the safer style of play. Again, he's not my favorite guy in this draft. What'd you say, Sam?
He has a great shot on the power play.
Yeah.
He wasn't really visible in the Liga, but the U18s that was there, just absolute bomb.
Yeah, and
So
that's the thing too. If he can reach his offensive potential as a goal scorer, that's again like you have Miguel Marcus, who's the playmaker. You add Emil Hemming, who's more of a goal scorer, who's more physical, and I think more translatable to the higher level. I think it's a safer pick. I think it's a smarter pick at that spot after taking a guy like Miguel Marcus. I just, in my eyes, it makes sense at that spot. That's why I went Emil Hemming there. Which takes us to pick 36,
Yeah, I
which is
just want to add
Columbus.
something. Yeah, I just wanted to add something about Emil Hemming. I think outside of the first round, it's a great pick, especially with their situation with the Ducks. Like they need more middle six guys than maybe top six guys, since they're filled out on that part. But I didn't like his consistency. I saw maybe a few games of him this year at the international level with his team, and it's just like he has a great shot. Some shifts you can see him throw his body around and like play well, play a detailed two-way game, but sometimes he's just a non-factor without the puck. So that's what I think that worries me a bit about the Emily.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all fair points. Again, I wasn't comfortable taking him in the first round. I don't think he's a first round caliber player. Then again, I think when you get to like 28 and down for up until about like 50, there's a lot of guys you can kind of be interchangeable with. There's a lot of depth, but not a lot of clear cut. This is a first round guy once you get into the later stages of the first. I'm more comfortable taking Hemming closer to 40. Um, so yeah, I like that pick there, and which takes us to Columbus. Fred, you are Columbus in this draft. The best player available is Aaron Kiviharu. Just to throw that out there, let's see what Fred decides here.
I am gonna go with a defenseman, but I am going to go with a different route for Columbus. I think they need someone to be able to move the puck from the back end, and I think here is where Henry Muse goes. I think one of the better puck moving and skating defensemen in the class. I really like his upside. He's such a good skater. Although he does have this obviously defensive needs, he's actually quite smart in my opinion. I think he's a really intelligent. Like he's a modern defenseman who just moves the puck well, is an incredibly good skater, and can play with that. Is able to jump into the play and create chances. So for me, that feels like a pick. After you get Constant Hellenius for the offense, you get a defenseman in here who has incredible upside. It's a bit of a risk, but it's a bit of a project. Has a bit of time to develop, but I think Columbus has time to develop him.
Yeah, and again, I know Sam mentioned it. Muse is undersized, and There's been experiments with undersized puck-moving defensemen in the past that haven't worked out, but it is a high upside swing. If Muse is able
Also,
to
like people, I think have to consider that when it comes to draft, there's only so many roster spots available. Those guys,
yeah,
especially going forward. NHL is getting bigger and more skilled, so there's only so many roster spots available, and don't see a point of drafting player like that within like a first round. Probably, I think that's fair thing to say. It's not about the players really. It's more about like opportunities when it comes to like NHL earning NHL roster spot for a long term.
I do agree with that. I think Columbus just needs good. They need to have take some swings because their team is. They've been in dead water for too long. They do need to take some risk, and I think if he pans out, he's a wonderful player. But he does need to pan out. There is obviously question marks surrounding him.
and that takes us to the next. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joey.
He's not that small. I know he's small, like for like if you compare to
He's 6 feet tall. Like
average
he's pretty
NHL
average.
defenseman. Yeah,
And that takes us to pick 37, which is Winnipeg. No one signed up for Winnipeg. Not surprising. It seems like nobody wants to be Winnipeg in or with Winnipeg.
I almost decided
for our
to go.
team.
I almost decided to go with Winnipeg just to see if I could trade Nick Ehlers to somewhere, just to see how I could do that.
All right, just to ask here, can I trade Tanner Jeannot to the Winnipeg Jets so I can pick here?
No.
Well, I'm looking at the board here for Winnipeg, and I hate to do this because he is a good player, so he's probably going to not want to sign and find a different team. But Matvei Gradin is the best player available on my board. He's the third best available on the consensus board.
Yes. Another Michigan guy.
Yes.
They will absolutely draft him here.
Yeah. It's Winnipeg. It doesn't matter if they're from Michigan, or Moscow. They're not going to want to sign with the Winnipeg Jets. But Gradin definitely stands out to me. I think another guy, you can call me out on this, Sam, but Sam O'Reilly's still available. He's been someone who's surging up boards. He could be an early second here. Don't know if Winnipeg's necessarily a fit, but he's a name that I've kind of highlighted. And I also think maybe a bit of an underrated name here, Harrison Brunicky, someone who's been rising up boards second half of the year, another guy to pay attention to. Alphonse Friege and Leo Selin Wallenius out in Sweden are two names that also come to mind. I know I just threw out about 5-6 names, but who do you guys have going to Winnipeg? Because it is the second round, so I kind of want to speed things up a little bit and get this done. So let's just do a quick vote for Winnipeg. Who do you think they go with here, Fred?
I feel like Gradin makes sense here just because it's like there is a.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Again,
Go with that.
Winnipeg is in a weird position right now. There's such a weird position.
And Joey, any?
Let's go with Gridden. I think it's a nice pick, especially at the 37. Winger with size, skill. He played in the USHL, and Winnipeg seems to like drafting USA guys, even if they don't want to play for them. But yeah, I think that's a nice pick.
Sam, you're in agreement? Gradin?
Sure.
Chase?
I didn't want to speak because I have the next pick, so I don't want to like recommend someone.
Well, Chase is on the board with Utah, formerly the Arizona Coyotes. For any Coyotes fans listening, there probably isn't, but just in case, that was for
Which
you.
ones?
Utah's up.
Okay.
Be nice to the moments.
Yeah, all 5 of them are. I'm sure really appreciate having been moved.
All right, go ahead, Chase. You have for Utah.
I'm not gonna go too deep into it. This player's too low, and I have extreme bias. I work with this player every day, and I'm going Dylan Letourneau here. He shouldn't be this low, in my opinion, and I'm just not going to speak too much because I probably shouldn't.
You're not sure.
You guys would have to say your perspective on Dylan.
He's certainly tall.
Nice input.
He's big.
Well, I mean,
the thing I'm worried about with him is just he hasn't played a major, like even junior, at this point in his life, and that worries me a little bit. I think he's gonna figure it out. I'm sure
I think
he's
that's
gonna,
the worry
but
for everybody, and it makes 1,000% sense.
yeah. I mean, for me, I watched Letourneau. Obviously, he's a really big guy, and considering his size, he doesn't really move all that slow. Like kind of like not Salayev, not to the same degree. Like he is just an outstanding skater in his own right. But for Letourneau, like watching him, I remember I didn't have his information written down when I watched him. I didn't know his height or weight. Watching him, I knew he was bigger than everybody else on the ice, but he moved as if he was like 6'4", rather than 6'7". So I think he moves a lot smoother and a lot quicker than guys that are that tall. And again, I mean, he's just such a poised player. If he can translate that to a higher level where he's going to face, he's not going to have as much space. It's a good swing to take, especially for guys raw as Letourneau and inexperienced at higher levels. If he can really make it translate, he could be a special player. It is risky, but he could be one of those guys that, down the line, people look back and think, wow, I mean, he probably should have gone late first with his size and everything like that. So definitely an interesting pick there.
Things get interesting now too with the fact that like he was supposed to be going to the USHL next season, and now with Will Smith and more openings in Boston College and like a higher role, that he'll be going straight there. Like jump. And the thing is, in NCAA Boston College, that's closer to pro hockey than it is even major junior. So the fact that he's going to go from not even playing major junior to pro hockey is going to be. People need to realize that it might not be overnight for him to make an impact there, but by the end of the season, ideally that transition will be a little more smoother.
Yep. And that takes us to Ottawa, number 39, which is Joey's pick.
Yeah, so Ottawa. First, we went with Levshunov, and it was Boava, so two big size guy. I'm gonna go a little bit undersized here, but really dynamic. Cole Hudson. I know Sam, Kyle, you don't have it that much high on your list, but I think he's definitely a second rounder. I think he's special, but he's just really undersized. He's a bit raw, but with a few years of seasoning, I think he can develop in a really potent top for
a lot of skill for sure.
Yeah,
it's just figuring it out later. That's going to be a big thing. So Seattle has the 40th pick, and just a second. So I'm just going to stick to my best player available, and that's Linus Eriksson. It's, to me, an absolute complete player. Not a player that's gonna like wow you away with his puck skills, but he works his ass off. Like he's everybody around like Swedish national team like talks about how he's such a leader, such a hardworking kid, such a hardworking player, and you can see it on the ice. Like he was a pretty key part of the Djurgårdens run to the finals in Hockey Allsvenskan, and he played more and more as the playoffs progressed. So to me, that's the guy that's going to enter lineup in 3-4 years and be a good piece for them.
Yeah,
and again, you can go wrong with centers, right?
Yeah, and like with a lot of the Euro guys here, you got my attention on them, and I had him at 35 on my board, so definitely really good place to take him for Seattle. And honestly, the Kraken can't really go wrong either. They're still a young franchise, so if they can get a prospect that good in Erickson, I'm sure they're happy. Which takes us to some of the remaining names on the board is Aaron Kiviharju and Max Masse, Leo Celine Wallenius, and Alphonse Friedge. Still available when Calgary picks at 41. That is Grayson. Forgot to tag him earlier. That's okay. For to gray out a couple players on the sheet, so I'm a little behind here. So let's quickly review the second round while we wait for Grayson to send his pick in for Calgary. So from 33 on, San Jose took Lucas Pettersson, Chicago took Charlie Elick, Anaheim took Emil Hemming, Columbus with Henry Muse, Winnipeg with Matvei Gradin, Utah with Dean Latorno, Ottawa with Cole Hudson, and Seattle with Linus Eriksson, which goes into Calgary 41. The best players available are Aaron Kiviariu, Maxime Masse, I don't think I'm saying that name right. Leo Celine
No,
Milenius.
you got it right.
I did? All right, cool. Alphonse Friedge and Tanner Howe are the 5 best players available still as we get towards the middle stages of the second round. See if he has not seen it yet. I'll give him a couple more minutes because I do want to start cruising some picks in here, being a little bit faster because we did start at like 12:15. It's already been about 2 hours, and I know some people were a little concerned with how long it would stretch. And it's looking like it's going to be longer than in years past, which is fine. I love talking hockey, and I know Sam, Fred, you've been with me before on mock drafts. We've stayed on after the streams ended and continued to talk about hockey for a little bit after. So I know you guys aren't too worried about it. I can't remember who mentioned the timing and stuff needing to get off. So try to just move a little bit faster here. So I do feel bad because Grayson's already lost 1 pick, which to be fair, I mean, I kind of want everyone to be involved, so I do feel a little bit bad, but I am tagging him, and he did commit. So he's got, I think he's putting one in now. So we have him. All right, perfect. Grayson selects Julius Miettinen, 41st by the Calgary Flames. Thoughts on Miettinen, Sam? I know you watch a lot more Euro guys than me here.
He plays in WHL, buddy. He plays in Everett, I think.
Oh, sorry. I saw the name. I apologize. I know.
Well, he is
All right.
European. What said a lot to me was he was left off of the Finnish team for the U18s for some reason, and I wonder why that is. He had a pretty good year in WHL. Talking to people, but he's alright, I guess.
Well,
I think to add to that, what I've heard a little bit about that, from what I remember, one of the reasons he was left out of the Finnish team was that they didn't really like his defensive game. And in Finland, you need to be able to do that to some degree, like with how the Finnish national team play and how the program is in general. They value defense so highly. I think that was the main reason I could find, at least when I was grouping like the team and who was not there and why. So I feel like that might have been why he was left out. That they were questioning some of his defenseman and his commitment towards the defensive zone. But I don't know how true it is, or how, I don't know if that's right by them, because Finland is a good hockey team in national tournaments, but they probably have a tendency to overvalue defense a little bit towards skill.
And we have next pick in for San Jose. Alex picked for the Sharks. He selected the towering overager Jesse Pulkkinen at 42 to the Sharks. This comes after selecting Lucas Pettersson at the top of the second round. He also selected Carter Yakemchuk at 14th. And of course, shockingly, Celebrini at 1. So the Sharks with 4 good plays here. What was that, Sam?
No way.
which takes us to Buffalo. Gabe Foley was the GM for Buffalo in this mock. He's been good about his picks, so I'll give him a couple minutes here to come in. Just a quick word on Jesse Pulkkinen. I was higher on him. So I talked to Sam a lot about my rankings and stuff. We're very well connected and have been for the last couple of years now. So I go to him a lot. He's a very knowledgeable guy. I got to give him his flowers here. But I talked to him earlier. I want to say like a month before the mock we're having today. I reached out to him and I said, "Listen, I focus way too much on consensus. I feel like I get caught up in how other people rank and feel awkward when I rank someone way higher than consensus or way lower than consensus." And I told him, like, I'm going to ignore all the noise and I'm just going to rank these guys the way I feel without any regard for what anybody else feels, which is the right thing to do, but I still need to work on that. Pulkkinen fell on my board pretty far. I can't lie. I don't see him having more upside than like a bottom pairing guy. I don't. He's a big guy. He defends well, and that's kind of about it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see the upside for Pulkkinen in the second round. Not a bad pick. Especially, second round, you either swing for the fences or you get a guy that you know has good chances of getting to the NHL. Um, and again, for San Jose, they got Macklin Celebrini. In this case, they swung the fences for Yakimchuk. They swung for the fences for Lucas Pettersson, and now they're going back to that. Let's play it a little bit safer here and go with Pulkkinen. I don't see the upside there for an early second round pick. I believe San Jose has another pick later on. I could be wrong. They do not. That was their last pick of the second round. But I feel like maybe they would have been available top of the third round for them. You don't know how the draft board is going to fall. But again, you can't really complain, especially because Paul
Well,
looks like a guy.
just because you said it, he's gonna go in the first round.
That's fine. Hopefully the Senators take him at 7th. So
Yeah, so he's not that
he's all right. Like I said, he doesn't have a lot of potential.
surprisingly a lot of puck skill for a tall guy on defense.
Yeah. But I mean,
But
I don't really.
like he plays like he's 5'11", not 6'6". That's a big issue, especially defensively. He's rough. Very raw prospect for sure. Especially like as an overager, that's a bit of a red flag to me personally. But he's a fun player. In the second round, when you want to like get like a lot of talent into your organization, sure thing.
Buffalo has selected at 43rd overall Dino defenseman Alphonse Frisch.
That's such a Sabres pick.
Yeah. That is, I mean, Rasmus Dahlin now has a Swedish best friend on the decor here. I like Frisch. He's early second on my board, so this is like an appropriate place for him to go. Anybody? I mean, just a quick rundown from any of you guys who know. Oh, wait, actually, we have something here from Gabe. Fantastic pace down the ice. Uses lanes creatively in the offensive zone. Knows how to position himself around his teammates, but he has to work on his defense. Is what Gabe said there. But again, if it's a second round pick, you can live with the things that they need to build on, things that they need to adjust. You can live with those mistakes.
100%.
So I think for a second round pick, that's a good spot for him. I wouldn't take him in the first round. I know there's some guys that would have him in the late first. I don't think that's a good spot for him. Same with Saline Milenius. But early second to mid second, I think that's a good spot for him. And that brings us to
Another left-handed defenseman for Buffalo.
Yeah. It screams Buffalo, like Sam said. It makes sense. Which brings up Pittsburgh on the clock, which is Gordon. He is in the chat as far as I've seen. So I'll give him a minute here to send his pick in. So the last 5 picks, Cole Hudson to Ottawa, Linus Eriksson to Seattle, Julius Miettinen to Calgary, Jesse Pulkkinen to San Jose, and Alphonse Friedge to Buffalo. Now it is Pittsburgh on the clock. Well, we have a couple seconds or a couple minutes here, however long he takes here. Who do you guys think Pittsburgh will take with pick number 44? Or do you think they actually traded away? What do you think the vibe for Pittsburgh here?
Well, it's Kyle Dubas. He's going to trade down.
He's absolutely going to trade down. What is? You know what? I was thinking, what's the most Pittsburgh pick? You're right. I need to think about what's the most Kyle Dubas pick here. That's a different thing.
Kyle Dubas pick? Well, Kyle Dubas pick, that's Maxim Masser.
It was going to go. In a way, I could see him go Kibiharu as well, just because it's like a player that's been injured and one of those that's kind of fallen into fallen a lot more to where he started the year because of the injuries, because of that, and I could see that be a player.
Yeah, we talked about Kiviaru, I believe it was yesterday, 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was like recently.
Yeah, it was very, very recent where the IQ is there. It's just, yeah.
He needs better skating.
It's his skating, yeah.
So like the thing is, he's good. He has great edges. He's brilliant at like with that, but he doesn't use it properly. It's a good player.
All
I
right.
could definitely see him. Yeah, after this pick.
See here. I mean, Gordon was focusing in there it is. And Leo Saline Wallenius goes to Pittsburgh. Do you think that's a Kyle Dubas pick there, Sam? What do you think? I want your thoughts on it since you dealt with Dubas out in Toronto here.
Yeah, that feels like a Dubas pick for sure. Back moving defenseman, he can do it all offensively. He likes offensively. Just
Like this too.
yeah.
Now we're on to Minnesota at 45. Fred, who do you have going in Minnesota?
So I was talking to. So again, to bring that conversation up, I think one of the things I said during that conversation was if the Wild has an option to take him at 2 with a second pick, I think I would like it, but I also would be having obvious worries. The thinking was that the Wild was gonna be able to pick a defenseman in the first round. Because Cole Eisman was available, I felt that was there. So I feel like I was technically thinking like Tanner Howell here would be making sense. I think he's a very good player in this position, but I feel like for defenseman, I'm actually gonna go with Adam Kibiharu. Swing for the fences, go for something magnificent, and because with the IQ that he has, with the intelligent way he just plays and the offensive upside, he has so much potential to be a great player. And there's a reason why he like 2 years ago was like in the top 5. He has so much potential, and he is one of those players that dropped out of knowledge, I think, for a lot of people because of the injuries he has had. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to improve his skating massively. But if he can do that, man, is he a player that could be great.
So
And he can learn a lot from Spurgeon.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also the thing. I think I compared him to Spurgeon when I was making an article recently on him. And having him as a mentor, the same kind of style player, could be really, really good. Agree with that? That he doesn't know same place?
Pick 46 is Pittsburgh again. So again, Kyle Dubas pick here. Do they trade back? Do they make a selection? If they make a selection, who are you feeling here, Sam?
Oh boy, putting me on the spot here. Sam O'Reilly, Maxim Massey. Those two make sense.
What
He
about
picked,
Camille
he picked
Bednar?
the defenseman. Who?
Camille Bednar?
Could be
Because
also.
that's who Gordon picked for Pittsburgh, 46. Camille Bednar.
Could be also. Yeah. Slovak blood.
Which takes us to pick
Yeah, he's
47.
his parents.
Alrighty. Be an interesting one here. I wasn't expecting to go this way, but I already went forward with Detroit, so I'm gonna go Lucas Fisher because his father, longtime Yuri Fisher, good blood there, long time NHLer, has worked in player development with Detroit for like 20 years now, and is like Stevie's right hand man for that, and like they have such a close relationship, and have worked with like Lucas and since he was probably a kid and like as far back. So I feel like that's just a safe thing for them to take him later here. It's a name connection. A lot of these types of picks are made in the second or third round anyways, so that just makes a lot
You're
of
so
sense.
right about that. You're so freaking right about that. That makes a lot of sense.
I wasn't even like thinking about it. Like, I just looked like a couple minutes ago and I was like, I feel like I should just go Fisher here. I feel like it's easy.
All
Plus, I
right.
like him. Like he's a good player. Like it's not like there's any other. It's not like I don't like the player. Just
That takes us to pick
He's
48,
fine.
which is Joey for the Blues.
Oh yeah. Okay, we're at pick 48. We gotta stop the QMJHL bleeding. I'm gonna go there with the top guy from Quebec, Maxime Massey, St. Louis. Um, he doesn't have the best skating, but the skill set, the shooting packing skill set, his hands and tight, the way he finds open space, but at the same time he works hard along the boards. I think he's a great pick. He's a great mid-six guy potentially, and St. Louis already drafted a few Quebec guys, as Zach Dean, Zach Bolduc. So I can see that. Yeah.
That is a good pick. He was the best player still available on the consensus board. So definitely a good pick there, which brings us to Utah again, which I believe is Chase.
I'll grab
That's the last one as well.
yeah. I'll grab Vanacker here. I just feel like it's been too far at this point. Like I thought he was better than Lardis this year personally, and he's a year younger. And Lardis was a first rounder in a draft which was better last year than this year. So just for side by side comparables, it just feels like seeing him this late in the second year is just he slipped too far for me to like. So I'm grabbing him.
All right.
Makes sense.
Which then takes us to Chicago again. I was sent a list here by Wally to make selections for him. So I am proud to announce that you just ruined his board, Chase, because he had Vanacker as his top option at pick 50, which means I have to go with his second best option, which is John Mustard out of the USHL.
That's such a Blackhawks pick.
I mean, I love Mustard. He's one of those guys in the U.S. I mean, there's a few guys in the U.S.
I like
that,
Ketchup more, but of course.
yeah, Mustard is one of my favorite U.S. guys to watch. Definitely underrated to a degree. I don't know if he actually, I can't say if he's underrated. 50 is a good spot for him, but I do like Mustard a lot. Just some good names in this draft class. I was hoping for someone named Ketchup or something, or Relish, but that would have been probably a bit too
I
selfish.
hope Master relishes the opportunity in Chicago.
Which makes us to pick number 51, which is Philadelphia, which is Jim in the group chat here. Falling behind. This computer is so unbelievably slow. I wish you guys could see what I'm working with here because it's actually insane. It's like 5 seconds of waiting after I click something. If not longer. All right, there you go. Now it's sent. So Philly on the clock. Just to quickly run down while we have time, their last pick was Teddy Stiga at 32. They had another pick, I believe, right? Yes, they also took Anton Salayev at 12. So Anton Salayev, Teddy Stiga, and now their 51st pick here on the way. So who do you guys think for Philly, still on the board here, is the right pick? Because looking at it, I mean, best player available, Tanner Howe. I don't think he's a Philly pick.
Goalie. They need a goalie.
Goalie.
Um,
They did not
I
take a
haven't
goalie.
researched it from.
They did not take a goalie. So Philadelphia selects Harrison Brunicky, which I think is a pretty solid pick. I did an article about a month ago on analytical darlings of the 2024 class. Shout out Mitch Brown and Lassie Allen from Elite Prospects. So Mitch was supposed to be here. Unfortunately, something came up. He wasn't able to make it, which happens. But he has track data from the last 5 or 6 years now. And Harrison Brunicky was one of the best defensemen in almost every analytical category that he has tracked. So me being a big analytics guy, I feel like Brunicky is supremely underrated. But watching, I mean, didn't get a lot of viewings on him, so I can't really speak on what I saw from Brunicky. But the analytics tell me that he could be a very special player. Anybody get some good viewings on Brunicky here? Because like I said, I didn't get enough on him until really, really late, and I don't trust my perspective on that, considering I only have I think one game on him. All right. Well, I mean, I'll back it because he does have the analytics on his side. But the pick for Washington is in. Sam, you'll like this. At pick 52, the Capitals select Sam O'Reilly. I know
Makes
you were
sense.
you really like O'Reilly, especially down the stretch there. Can you take us through just a quick summary of what you see in O'Reilly, especially towards the end of the year? That playoff run was outstanding while we wait for next pick here.
Yeah, so to me, O'Reilly is a prototypical bottom six player. He's not someone that's gonna like value with anything. He was pretty productive for a responsible two-way center. He's physical. He's well, people often like to say like he plays the right way, which is just basically playing good. So he's a responsible guy. I feel like he could be a great second round pick for somebody. He's not gonna be. I don't expect a player that's gonna have like a top six spot in NHL in any way, but a good role player for sure.
And the next pick here is Nashville. It is Alex again. So you should be getting that pick in very soon. The best player available, still Tanner Howe. Seems to be falling pretty far here. He was ranked 42nd on the consensus. So he continues to slide. Igor Serene, Matvey Sharavin, Thomas Ovish, and Adam Jekko. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Sam. Jekko?
You're so freaking wrong, but sure. You don't even try.
All right, I apologize. It doesn't matter because they select Leon Mugli. So Leon Mugli goes to Nashville at 53. I see some head nods there. I know you weren't super high on Mugli earlier on in the year. I remember having a conversation with you, Sam. But has he grown on you at all?
No. He's another one of those like great skater, great like involvement offensively, but he just for as many good decisions he makes, there's the mistakes there, just as many for him, and I worry about that. I worry about that so much. Um, especially for a guy who is not that tall.
Yeah.
So to me, he's a player that makes sense for Nashville. I guess who likes to develop guys, who likes to have a lot of guys in the system to pan out. But I'm not that high on him, and I'm not sure. Well, there's people who like him, and I can certainly see why, but I don't.
And right back to the Islanders, which is Sam. At 54 overall, who are you taking? I have a bad feeling.
So, oh my God!
I have a really bad feeling.
All right, I'm gonna skip my best player available.
Before you say anything, do the Islanders want Tanner Jeannot?
No,
Damn it.
nobody wants Tanner Chanel.
Neither do the Lightning. That's what I'm
That's a guy that like is basically waiting to play with Kucherov, but they won't do it.
Just
Be the asshole and don't focus on anything else. So with the Islanders pick, I'm selecting a. I think this is going to be the first goalie off the board.
Yeah.
Pavel Moisevic for the Islanders. Overager from Belarus, 6'5". Greatly athletic. He's just so incredible. The numbers on him is just incredible this year. He progressed a lot, and to me, he's the best goalie in this draft, despite the fact that he's overager. And it's just a pick that makes sense for the Islanders' future.
You said Moisevic, right?
he's
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's also incredibly athletic considering how big he actually is. Like he's real. He's really quick on his line,
940 in the KHL.
which again in the KHL, getting games as a defenseman is hard. Getting games as a
Ridiculous.
goalie is stupidly hard in the KHL, and doing it well is unbelievably impressive. So I think that's an incredibly smart pick. I was about to say, hey, do you want to relook the trade off I had for Toronto with the Islanders, but realized you had Sorokin, so probably not.
Nah.
All right. Back Alex for Nashville. What do you think Nashville needs at this stage? They've taken, I think they need Tanner Jeannot.
They
But
have
they've taken,
everything when it comes to depth.
they just
Take him
took,
back.
yeah, they just took Leon.
Yeah, return all the 15 picks you get for him.
So they've taken at this point Leon Mugli. They've also taken another defenseman, Adam Yurchek, with their 2 picks so far. So listen, I'm not the smartest guy, but I have a feeling they're going to go forward here after going with 2 defensemen. And Tanner House on board, a lot of upside there. Obviously, okay.
Tanner Hall feels like a very Nashville pick.
That feels like a Hawks pick more
Well,
than anything.
Also that.
Just because he was basically better at sliding.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's actually true.
Yeah, Igor Serene is the player taken by the Nashville Predators at 55, which takes us to pick 56, the St. Louis Blues, which is Joey.
Well, I was going for Surin, so messes up my plan. We'll go with no bias here. We'll go with a second QMJHL pick. Just still don't know which player. I think I'm gonna go with the small Justin Poirier. So just before Montreal's pick as well, just to mess up with them. So yeah, Poirier, incredible goal scorer, as you heard. A lot of scouts, a lot of problem with the, let's say, his deep defensive side of the game. His compete, which I don't hate his compete. I think it's good, but He's a really special scorer, and I think if he can figure it out with a few years in the AHL, he could become a 25 to 30 goals scorer in the NHL, but he could also just top out as a top AHL scorer as well. So it's really a boom or
Yeah,
bust.
more bust, yeah.
So Easton Poirier to the Blues there, out of the QMJHL yet again. So the Blues digging into the QMJHL pipeline here, which takes us to Montreal. Another, as you mentioned, another Quebecois player taken before Montreal.
Very bad.
This one's all right. You didn't snipe my pick on this one, so we're okay. Montreal they have a ton of defensemen in the pipeline, but if you look at that, it's overwhelmingly on the left side. They don't have a lot of right defensemen. And on the right side, you're basically looking at Reinbacher, who can play two ways, and then you're looking at Barron and Mailloux, who are very much puck-moving defensemen. And I think what those last two playoffs have showed, you need some size back on the defense, and you need some solid defensive play and someone who's not afraid to play physical. So we're going to go to the Oshawa Generals here and take a right-handed defenseman who has that size and plays physical. And in the second half of the year, started to show a lot more offensive capability, and that's Ben Danford. So that's he's 6'3". He's got the skating, and is a very mean type of player when you come down his side of the ice. And I think he's also very, very good defensively for a 17-year-old. We'll see if that offense continues to grow.
And that's the sort of thing that you kind of heard with guys like Brock Faber in Montreal. If they can just get that offense to kick in, so it's always a good bet. That's why I'm usually pretty high on players who are very mature defensively at a young age. Me and Sam both super high on Anton Lundell. If the team around him wasn't so bad at finishing the series, he'd be a Stanley Cup champion right now. Still out on that one. We'll see what happens later tonight. But yeah, that's the kind of thing you can get. Defensively responsible, mature players tend to translate to the NHL better, and if they can just unlock that offense, they could be a pretty special talent. So it's always a fair bet, I think, in my eyes, to go the defensively, again, mature player. So not a bad pick by any means. And even though he's not French, he could certainly learn for the fans over in Montreal. Which takes us to Anaheim. And as the Ducks, I can't let them fall any further. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Tanner Howe. I think at this stage, it's getting to the late stages of the second round. I do like the upside that Howe brings. I think that, it's tough because he has lost a lot of traction. Obviously, Bedard makes a huge difference on the ice, and that difference was certainly felt. But I also think it's not overblown necessarily, but I also think it's a bit of a strong narrative too for Howe, where a lot more credit has been given to Bedard, and he didn't even have a bad year necessarily. There are some worries about translation and whether he can go to the next level, go to the NHL level and translate his skills, especially if he doesn't have skilled line mates around him. But I think with the youth in Anaheim, they could have a core that they could put around him to help him at least be or return to that level in juniors where he's a capable top six, middle six guy.
What I kind of want to say on Tanner Howe is I somewhat compare him a little bit to Zach Hyman in some aspects, because a lot of his goals in front of the net, where you kind of need your teammates to be good and at getting you the puck in that area. He goes through the area, but it is probably, I think it's a combination of being a bit of a byproduct of Connor Bedard last year, but also having the skill to play and get to the positions where a player like Bedard can find you. I don't think that's like, oh, it's just because of Bedard doing that. You still have to seek that area. You still have to be opportunistic. You still have to want puck in that area. Be prepared to take take the bruises you get for that. So I think there is a good player there if you can find the players around him to make him play his style on a line.
And with that, that takes us to the next pick, which is Nashville. They take the next best player on the board, and is Matvei Shavin to the Predators. Which, again, I mean, knowing Anaheim, I know they're not going to take Matvei Shavin. I also do like the upside that Tanner Howe brings, the potential that he brings if he can translate that skill to a higher level and be surrounded by more talent. But Shavin was my best player available on my board. Not by much, but he was the best player available on my personal board. So I was very, very close to picking him, but I ended up settling for, or not settled, but going for Tao there. But Shervin was right there in that conversation, which brings us to the Carolina pick, which is Alex. He's been pretty quick with his picks, so should be coming any moment now. The best players available, I'll give top three here. Thomas Galvis. Not going to say it, but Adam, I'm not going to say it right. I already got cursed out by Sam, but Adam Jekko, I think. And Luke Misa are the top three best players available on the consolidated rankings. I can already feel the hatred that Sam has for me if he hears me pronounce that one more time. But Carolina will take Luke Misa at the spot. Solid pick. Had him around 50, so this is about middle to late part of the second round is a good spot for Misa here. Certainly not a bad pick, and again, Carolina's not afraid to take swings. That's kind of always been their thing. So I'm not surprised with a Misa pick there at all. Which takes us to the New York Islanders, which is Sam's team here. When he gets a moment to select. See, I know he's on call.
We'll say to mine. I'm glad I don't have like a journalist like Michael Russo like hanging around, because the amount of trade news he would have gotten that didn't materialize would have been bad. Out of me, I've been trying to trade like all.
So I know Sam really, really well, and I also know the Islanders and what they go for. So I'm very, very worried that they're going to pick the guy that I really want or would want. Torrey Pittner, I think, is certainly an option here for the Islanders. And I don't like that because I love Pittner. And if Sam takes him right here, I'm going to be very unhappy. Simon Zether. Oh, that's a great pick. Simon Zether to the Islanders. I am a huge Zether fan. Zether fan. Sam will kill me if I get it wrong. Doesn't matter. He's really, really good. I have him in my top first round rankings. So he was right up there with. Actually, he was higher than Tanner Howe. So he wasn't even my top ranked player when I picked for Anaheim last. But Zether, he's so good defensively, super mature, gets things on in the defensive zone. I mean, it's the best way to put it. Just so talented in his own end. And then you also have the fact that in the offensive zone, just incredibly high IQ. Where he's constantly getting into the right positions. He's constantly finding open pockets of space and finding opportunities to be an option as a pass in high danger areas. And yeah, just I'm a big fan of Simon Zether. I think it's only a matter of time before his potential really takes off offensively. And he's already got the defensive game down. So at the very least, I think he's a third line matchup kind of player. For in the future, I really, really do like Simon Zether's game, and I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. Which takes us to the Calgary pick, which is already submitted, and Calgary took Noel Francine with the 62nd pick of the draft, which takes us to Seattle. Don't have a lot of things on Francine, so I can't really speak on that front. Any of you guys want to say a word on Francine from Sweden there, going to Calgary, feel free. But I've been kind of mentioned already that we haven't gotten a lot of views on Euro guys, so I don't really have much to add there. Which takes us to Seattle, which is Sam again. So again, he's in the group chat. I know he's in a video call here. Seems like he would be dealing with something. So he's in the group chat, so he should respond pretty quickly. But Seattle's on the clock again. I can't help but feel this might be a Torrey Pittner selection here.
I wanted to say if you want anything on Noel Franson, I can kind of put it in. I feel like he's again a modern defenseman from Sweden. I think, as much as that sounds very vague, it kind of says a lot about him. He moves the puck well. He skates at a fine level. He works hard. Yeah, I think he in some ways I think he might feel a little bit about Alphonse Frey in some aspects. I think there's a lot of that nice mobile defenseman with good hands that passes as well, but maybe still need to grow a little bit in terms of his how he positions himself defensively.
Yeah. And so for Seattle here again, I know Sam well enough to know it might be a Torrey Pittner pick. Could be Luca Morelli. I think that's his best player still on the board here. Welcome back,
I'm
Sam.
picking Luka Morelli here.
There you go.
Oh.
Best player available on his board. So
Simple as that.
thank God. Which is the next pick now. Which is Edmonton. I don't think anyone signed up for Edmonton. I could be wrong though. Let me double check here. Yeah, no one signed up for Edmonton. Anybody see any players here available for Edmonton?
Let's take a goalie.
Goalie? Carter George?
Yeah. I'm not a goalie guy, but
I would say it's that, or they would try and go for Marcus Gildoft, just because he has impressive numbers. He's massive.
Neither is in my top 10.
But they probably would go George just because of how he's Canadian, and yeah.
If they lose the
I
Cup
think he
Finals
makes
and
it.
Stuart Skinner has a bad game, they're going to go with a goalie in the draft. I think it's unavoidable.
Or Evan Gardner.
Or
From
yeah, Evan
substitute.
Gardner's another good one. Yeah,
I'd say Ilya Nabokov.
Nabokov's another. Yeah,
Good one.
Nabokov's a good one too. I would say Carter George just because he was like the hero for Canada.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
I feel like
Don't really
Canadian
like him.
goalie.
All right.
Are we going off the premise that we assume Edmonton just loses Stanley Cup? Is that what?
So, I did say before this mock ever happened and before I even had everyone all together, I made up a rule that said you can trade players. You can trade picks as long as it was realistic. And at 65, Utah was on the clock with Chase. But with some discussions with some really, really smart people, they decided to trade that pick to the Tampa Bay Lightning for Tanner Jeannot and Lucas Edmonds.
No,
Boo!
oh boy.
And
gotta make the pick worth it.
it's worth it because I was very, very scared for a while that Sam was going to take the guy that I wanted. But he didn't. And Sam, I can't thank you enough. With the 65th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Tampa Bay Lightning are more than proud to select Torrey Pittner of the USHL. He is my favorite USHL defenseman who isn't a first-round pick. And I can confidently say that if this happens in real life, I might personally fly down to Tampa and kiss the feet of Julien Brisebois because if Torrey Pittner's a Bolt by the end of the draft, I will be probably one of the happiest people on the planet Earth. He is outstanding defensively, super smart, super intelligent in his own end, plays physical, kind of like an old school style. Transitionally super underrated. I don't think people understand his puck moving ability. He's just so smart with the way he moves the puck and decent in the offensive zone. You don't really need him to be a standout guy offensively. Sam, you love him just as much as I do. But yeah, I love Torrey Pittner, and if Tampa can get a second round pick, he's the guy that I really want them to target. They need a shutdown defenseman. They don't have a shutdown defenseman in their system. They don't even have it in the NHL outside of Ryan McDonough, who they just traded for. So outside of that, I want them to get a shutdown guy, especially like if Sergachev's the long term solution, you need a shutdown guy on his pair. Otherwise, it's going to be nothing but disaster um, for a very long time in Tampa. I love Sergachev. I'm not trying to, tear him down or anything, but
Don't lie.
I have my concerns.
Don't lie.
No, okay.
Don't lie. You don't like.
I don't hate Sergachev. I'll put it like that. But he is so bad against the rush. It's actually infuriating. I think he gave up like 65% of the controlled entries aimed at his side over the last 2 years and denied maybe 5%. He's so bad against the rush. It's unbelievable. Um, but he's good offensively. If you can get him a good partner that can help him in that area, he'll be okay, I think. I hope.
You mean like Chernak?
No, they suck together. They're so Chernak's not good enough to make up for bad mistakes.
Just do a guy. I like him.
Yeah, I like Chernak. I think he's best with McDonough. They can just shut guys down, but that was like 5 years ago. That was good. I don't know about now. So, but that's just me. But that's it for the mock draft. Again, I want to reiterate there are a lot of probably confusing picks made over the course of the draft. Some guys taken probably a lot earlier than consensus. You had Levshinov and Salayev going a lot later than many mocks have been going, including some Dickinson going, you know, third overall to Anaheim instead of one of Salayev or Levshinov. So definitely not what you'd expect out of like consensus mock drafts. But again, this is us saying that if we were picking for these teams, this is what we would do. Just want to reiterate that again. That was the thought process behind all of our picks. I also want to say a huge shout out to you guys that were able to make it to the video call. I know it's not easy to free up a chunk of time out of your day to make this happen. And also, our initial time was 8 p.m. today. Everyone was able to do it. And then Florida decided to have one of the biggest moments of choking in the playoffs probably ever. Still, jury's out on that one. We'll see what happens tonight. But if they lose tonight, it'll be.
I hope they both lose.
As a
They will,
Lightning fan,
they will play overtime until the draft starts.
as a Lightning fan, I'm glad Florida's losing right now, and nothing would bring a smile to my face more than seeing the Panthers choke this one away. But yeah, it wasn't easy to find another time. I know I talked to Sam a little bit. I got more people today than I expected. Some of you guys changed your availability. Not the ones here. I think all of you are pretty much set for Mondays. But some of the guys that made it into the chat were kind enough to move things around and fit it into their schedule. So huge shout out to those guys if they're watching. And huge shout out to you guys who were able to make it to the video call because it's so much fun every year. This year there were some issues, of course, early on. Obviously not as smooth in terms of my knowledge of European players. Sometimes I'm able to give some commentary to take some of the weight off Sam and Fred's shoulders in that regard, but been focused on the U.S. this year. So next year with FC, I'll have a full year over there with all the film I could ask for. So hopefully next year I'll be a lot better in terms of getting my input in for Euro guys. Again, just massive shout out to you guys for making the time because it's not easy, like I said, to find a time that works for everybody and then for everybody to commit to it and make it on time and be here for the whole thing. It's awesome. It really is. So thank you guys. And again, shout out to Sam. He's basically a co-host at this point. He's been to every single mock draft. And honestly, he's helped me become the scout I am genuinely. So I wouldn't be doing the mock draft if it wasn't for him. So huge shout out to Sam and Fred, of course, because again, another Euro guy making time later in his day to make it. So huge shout out to all the Euro guys and the FC guys, obviously Joey and Chase making time to be here. So big shout out to you guys. That's all I can say. I'm glad you guys can make it.
Real pleasure. Real
And
pleasure.
shout out to you as well for making all of this and preparing it and making sure to get together. That's always I'm so impressed that you just year after year decides, yeah, let's do this. Let's have a wonderful 3 hour talk about hockey.
Yeah, I love talking about hockey. It's always fun, and it wasn't easy this year because again, the Florida Panthers like ruining my life. But that's all right. We kept it moving, and again, you guys were awesome, able to move things around. So didn't skip a beat, and I'm ready to run it back next year already. I'm super excited about the full year at FC. I know Sam, you are too. We've talked about it a lot. Next year is going to be awesome. Can't wait. Thanks again, you guys.
Thanks, Cal.
And
Thanks, Tom. See you.
Have a good one, guys.
Really